the legendary Hollywood director. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 351 Lawyer, Subscription Recommendation. Everyone has already agreed on the investment, and the subsequent negotiations are mostly on the production side. For this kind of cooperation within the industry, everyone knows how to operate it specifically, and there is no one taking advantage of anyone. If you agree, you can shoot together, and if you don't agree, you can't force it. This is the logic, but when it comes to the specific cooperation plan, it is still quite difficult to talk about it. Although Warner Bros. Holds the copyright of Batman and can have a great deal of dominance during negotiations, because the main risks are borne by Firefly Pictures, Lyman has always wanted to take more initiative in cooperation. Therefore, it is inevitable that it is still very cumbersome. In terms of finance, we must introduce an insurance company recognized by both parties as a third-party guarantee. Lyman suggested. This is not a problem. Berrymere said, reading the contract over and over again. You already have plans for a sequel. It clearly marked the production concept of the trilogy. We thought of this when we were creating the structure of the whole story. With just one film, we can't create the image of Batman in our minds. Lyman explained, if the first film is successful, it is impossible not to continue to develop Batman, right? A more reasonable and complete creative plan is also good for the entire project. Well, it's a good idea. Berrymere raised his eyebrows and looked at Lyman and Nolan, who was calm beside him. In such an occasion, as a director, he maintained an objective attitude of speaking less. How about choosing the fire insurance fund company under the Allianz Group as the guarantor? Lyman said again. Regarding the budget, Lyman decisively chose the fire insurance fund company that he had cooperated with several times and had insured several times. Of course, Warner would also worry that Firefly Pictures would do something about the investment, such as the amount of funding not matching the planned shooting budget. Choosing such an insurance company with the best reputation and the most proficient business in the industry is a guarantee for everyone. This is the most used insurance company in the industry, and Berrymere and other Warner executives have no objection. As for the sequel, Nolan and I mean to establish a cooperative relationship with Warner Bros. On the entire follow-up project. At this time, Joshua Bloomer, who had been watching, spoke up. I think there is no need to draw conclusions so early. The first part hasn't been produced yet. Let's see the effect first. What? Lyman was silent and looked at Berrymere. Berrymere was also a smart man. He comforted. Warner Bros. Also hopes to establish a long-term cooperative relationship with Firefly Pictures, but for the Batman project, we need to see results, and are not so quick to agree. Borrowing external funds to make movies, from the perspective of overall management, Warner Bros. Is not at a disadvantage. The one who suffers is the production department. This is a project they should be responsible for. Even if they are powerless and cannot develop it, it is not so easy to talk about it. As for Berrymere, he completely followed the company's remarks and followed Joshua's meaning. Lyman was not happy and began to argue. Once the first film is successful, subsequent development is a matter of course. Then we worked so hard and took such a big risk to shoot it. Don't we have room to participate? This does not meet the predetermined goal of the cooperation we want. Joshua just habitually maintained the right to speak for his own department. Seeing Lyman say this, he also said, then let's do this. If the first film can recover the investment in terms of box office, Firefly Pictures can participate in the development of subsequent projects, but only the last two films of the overall concept, and the investment model does not have such a large profit space as the first film. The 6 major Hollywood studios are still so shameless. The means of stealing the fruits of victory are always so open and above board. Unfortunately, Lyman really couldn't refuse, because he knew that Warner would never continue to share the trump card of Batman with outsiders. It was the help of time and people that they could get to this point. If Warner was not preparing to acquire New Line and cooperate on a big project like The Hobbit, it would be impossible to raise funds to develop Batman. Even if we introduce external funds, it is impossible to get such a bargain. Okay. Lyman nodded and said, as long as the first movie performs well, we can cooperate on the next 2 movies. He thought for a while before continuing. For the second movie, Firefly Pictures' investment and profit share must be at least half, and for the third movie, at least 30%. In addition, Warner must add a condition to ensure that Firefly's future profits reach the predetermined value. Seeing that Joshua Brummer did not speak, Berrymere nodded gently. If the first movie does not achieve the expected results, Warner has the right to terminate the cooperation at any time. This is a legitimate right of the copyright holder, but Lyman must also prevent Warner Brothers from forgetting their principles for the sake of profit. The expected goal is that the total box office of the film can offset the production cost. If it is lower, it will be considered a breach of contract. After listening, Joshua looked at director Nolan and said, if he is the director, the producer must be someone from Warner. We need to keep abreast of the development progress of the project. This is just an excuse. His real idea is to take more initiative in the project. Okay, but I must be the first producer, and Warner cannot make any unreasonable demands for filming without reason. Lyman could sense the other party's attitude, but he still insisted. If he couldn't get the first producer, who knows what kind of trouble Warner would make. In the future DC's good cards were all lost by Warner's management. Fortunately, Lyman's past achievements are there, and he has also produced similar series of excellent dramas such as Saw. So, Joshua didn't insist anymore. Anyway, he just wanted to place his own people on the set. Berrymere's eyes swept across the front of several people, and he was also calculating various gains and losses. Lyman was also thinking, but he was thinking, that he seemed to be the savior of DC. For example, the very unreliable DC Universe development. It was obviously too hasty, and the management was messed up. Maybe he could also participate in it. Lyman had a beautiful dream in his heart. This was a big business involving billions. How about this? It's getting late. Let's have lunch first, and continue the discussion in the afternoon. Berrymere looked at his watch, and suggested that it was already past noon. Joshua also nodded. Let's eat together in the cafeteria of Warner. No, we still have some things to deal with, so let's continue the negotiation at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Chapter 352 Contract, Subscription Recommendation. Nolan seemed a little happy that the negotiation went smoothly. When the group went downstairs, Nolan pulled Lyman a little further away and whispered, will they interfere too much with the filming? Is there anything I need to pay attention to? Was I too quiet upstairs just now? This guy can reach his future position. In addition to his extraordinary directing ability, it is also inseparable from his way of dealing with people. His sense of smell is indeed sharp. Warner's attitude, Lyman smiled bitterly, seems to be a bit demanding. It seems that in addition to asking us to bear the risks of filming, they also want to fight for more production rights. However, I was a little tough just now. I think they will consider it. By the way, where is your agent? Lyman suddenly asked. At CAA, he has more than one client under me. Nolan replied. When this matter is cleared up, remember to ask him to come. Do you think the negotiation will be quick? Nolan was a little unconvinced. Have you seen the lawyer team I found? As long as the general intention of cooperation between the two parties remains unchanged, the rest can be left to them. Let's start the preliminary preparations first. Your salary and director contract also need to be confirmed by your agent. No problem. In fact, Warner's management is also very clear. Rather than saying that they are picky, it is better to say that it is a negotiation strategy of theirs. If you take a step back, they will take a step forward. In other words, they have actually agreed to this cooperation between the two parties. Under this premise, it is always right to strive for a little more. On the contrary, if Lyman and others are not confident enough, and given again and again, it is likely that they will not get any initiative. However, after all, it is the first formal contact, and both parties are testing each other's bottom line. In the afternoon, after another round of negotiations, the two parties agreed to continue the next day. For a big project like this, everyone is cautious. After 3 consecutive days, when there was basically no problem in the general direction, Berrymere personally invited Lyman to meet again. Please sit down. he said, and asked his assistant to open a small cabinet next to the sofa and take out a cigar box. The two sat opposite each other and lit cigarettes carefully. Berrimere blew out a smoke ring and breathed a sigh of relief. "Let's not talk nonsense," he asked directly. "What are your plans?" Many people on the production are concerned. I know it's normal for everyone to have some doubts. Batman is the face of DC and cannot afford to fail easily. If it encounters a failure, its value will be greatly reduced. Lemon first put himself in Warner's shoes and spoke for him, then pretended to be puzzled and said, "We all agree on the cooperation. This is a win-win cooperation. But I don't quite understand what the concerns are about filming, actresses, filming team and even logistics personnel. All matters on the set must be participated by Warner people. This is also the intention of the board of directors and production department." Berrimere adjusted his sitting posture. "The planning of this project is good. Yes, it is very good. I have also read the plan, and it is basically the same as expected. I'm optimistic about you and the director Nolan you chose, but this expectation cannot be a guarantee. Guarantee, do you understand? This is what we lack now." Yes. The initiative has always been in the hands of Warner, and Lemon feels that he is always being led by the nose, which is a bad feeling. But the project belongs to Warner, which is another vicious circle, and he took the initiative to jump in. After the general direction is decided, even if he does not ask about the distribution at all, the other party is still unwilling to let go of the production. Even if it was mentioned before that the filming was commissioned, it is basically skipped now, and instead it is mentioned on the set, directly hinting that Warner will arrange the filming. But don't you agree with director Nolan's filming concept? As for my being the producer, it was also agreed at the beginning. Lemon decided to play dumb and wait for the other party to speak first. "Of course, I didn't say I disagree." Berrimere was still calm. "You may not understand it, and you may think we are very overbearing at first. But this circle is like this. Most of the people who cooperate with us are our own labels, or competitors of the same level. Those so-called co-productions are also the product of interest exchange. Most of them are produced with the money of investment banks, or give some benefits to certain foundations. But you are different. You are also practitioners. We don't want to play this game, but these are necessary means to ensure the development of the project. We cannot damage the rights and interests of Warner itself. Therefore, the studio must be set up by Warner. The producer can be you, and the director can be Nolan, but more importantly, perhaps let everyone discuss it, including the site selection, the location of the scene, and a series of shooting matters. This is a big deal. In other words, the previous cooperation was just a small fight. Well, that's true. How much money can $1 million baby make? And the surrounding is almost nothing. For a studio of Warner's size, only a first-line production like Batman will make them pay special attention. After Berrimere finished speaking, he stood up and stood in front of the window and then said, "What do you mean? Damn it, the old man is cheating me." Lemon cursed in his heart. Of course, from Warner's point of view, Berrimere is a very qualified executive. Especially when Lemon's funds are ready to enter. An assistant director, plus a few candidates for the shooting team, and a certain right to cast. Lemon said helplessly, "You know, for a director, the power on the set is a very important thing. I have to think about my people. No director wants to have no room to speak. Especially Nolan, like Lemon, completed his debut work independently with investment. He has enjoyed that kind of freedom. Even if he compromised for his career and was constrained many times, this is always not happy for a director with ideas. Lemon himself is also a director. He can only try his best to fight for more. Fortunately, Warner has agreed to the script, otherwise it would be more troublesome if it needs to be changed. Okay, I agree. Perhaps this is his negotiation method. First raise expectations, then lower expectations, and finally relax a little. It seems that Berrimere is in a good mood. Lemon couldn't get any information from his face, but he vaguely felt that he was fooled again. What an old fox. Sighing, Joshua Bloomer also came in. Berrimere nodded to him, and Joshua's attitude improved. These days, he is the one who jumps the most during negotiations, always finding faults. Chapter 353 Finalization. Subscription recommendation. The two exchanged ideas for a while, in front of Lemon. After the conditions were set, Barry Mears still agreed, but Joshua Bloomer seemed to have some ideas. Do we really have to give in on casting? Hey, didn't we say that we should discuss it together? What do you mean by giving in? Lemon was a little dissatisfied. You directors always have selfish motives, which is never a good thing for normal filming. Joshua also had his own reasons. We will not be biased and will select the most suitable one. Everyone has their own considerations. It is impossible to be selfless when it comes to casting. Anyway, it has to be agreed by everyone, right? We won't do anything wrong, and I hope you will do the same. Joshua was about to say something, but was interrupted by Barry Mears. That's it. You can ask your legal team to come and check the last contract. You think too highly of this kid. Joshua was still complaining. Don't make things too complicated, okay? Barry Mears said, we have delayed the adaptation of the superhero project for too long. And the Superman Returns project you are in charge of, can it be done? Because directors have withdrawn one after another, 2 directors have been replaced. Can the third one be negotiated? We don't have time to delay any longer. We must open up the situation first, otherwise I will have a hard time explaining to the board of directors. Speaking of this, Barry Mears was also a little unhappy. Because some people's desire for control is too strong, the film that has been approved can't even find a suitable director. Every time I just joined the group, I was immediately forced to explode and left in anger. Of course, Joshua is not someone he can decide. For such executives, as long as they don't make big mistakes, the board of directors will not take any measures against him. At most, it will be a warning. I understand. Joshua immediately assured. Barry Mears spread his hands. Some shareholders have already had some opinions about us, and I'm almost out of patience. In short, whether the DC comic adaptation project can succeed or not, when it comes to the time to turn the cards, I don't want Columbia and 20th Century Fox to continue to get away with it, understand? Joshua's face looked a little ugly, but he still nodded and left the office. Lemon saw all this. Joshua's strong attitude must have caused Barry Mears dissatisfaction. He was the one who pushed the Batman project, and he would not allow it to be delayed any longer. Where were we talking about just now? Lawyer. Yes, let your team sign the contract as soon as possible. I hope to see this movie in the summer of next year. Is that okay? Yes, there is plenty of time. That's good. Taking advantage of the time for the lawyers to review, Lemon carefully reviewed it. Joshua is the head of the production department, and he is very strong, but Barry Mears is the one who has the final say on this project. The two's authority is not at the same level, even though Barry Mears rarely asks about production. But judging from the current situation, Barry Mears is far more determined than Joshua, and his attitude is more positive. In his free time, he kept calling the top executives of CAA, William Morris, ICM and other brokerage companies, to communicate about the news of the project shooting. He was a little anxious, but for Lemon, most of the interests of the two were the same. Develop projects, launch them to the market, and make money back. It's nothing more than a little voice, and he can't argue. But Joshua's approach is very uncomfortable. Although he agrees with the general direction, he cares about everything, and always wants to take care of his department in the project team. It can't be said that he is wrong, but his way of doing things is unpleasant. Barry Mears seems more smooth and willing to take care of other people's emotions. There are no big problems in the contract. Both parties are still the same as the standards set before. The copyright and distribution rights belong to Warner, and the funds are provided by Firefly Pictures. Warner occupies a $20 million investment share, and the shares are invested in the project, and the income is divided according to the proportion. As a director, Nolan also quickly signed a directing contract. In this contract, he can get about $5 million basic salary and box office incentives similar to gambling. For example, if the North American box office exceeds $300 million, he can get an additional $2 million bonus, and if it exceeds $400 million, it will be $3.5 million, and $400 million is the upper limit. Since Spielberg made more than $200 million from box office incentives in Jurassic Park, many production companies have learned their lesson and will add a box office upper limit for incentives. to prevent such things from happening again. After the negotiation, a drinking party was held internally. Hey. Lemon raised his glass and took the initiative to show goodwill to Joshua. The matter was done, and the head of the production department was no longer so strong. It may be that Berrymere had exposed his cards to him, which made him have a clearer understanding of the cooperative filming of the entire project. Cheers. He drank it first. The relationship between the two is a bit subtle. He is the first producer, and Joshua will definitely find someone to insert into the crew. Who will he listen to then? Whoever has more power on the set will have the final say. But at this moment, everyone knows that it is time to end the calculation. Joshua couldn't just focus on one project. He wasn't that idle. Cheers. Berrymere, who had worked for Warner Brothers for most of his life, smiled again, as if all the previous disputes had never happened, and his communication skills were still online. I hope we can have a pleasant cooperation. Cheers. Joshua also spoke. The wine was just a taste. It was still working time, and the few people present didn't have the intention to drink freely. After drinking 2 glasses, after some politeness, Berrymere prepared another contract and signed it. This was a commissioned filming of Batman's copyright, and it also meant that the project could be invested in the filming budget at a price of $20 million, but it was an agreement that Firefly Pictures paid for it. Anyway, Lemon couldn't covet any use of Batman's copyright. This was not something that could be settled simply by ability or goodwill, favors, etc. After confirming that it was correct, Lemon signed the contract. 2 copies were made, and each kept them. After everything was done, Lemon left the Warner building with his legal team. After paying the fees, he called his agent Johnson and said, "You need to help me screen out a suitable distribution company as soon as possible. Establishing North American channels is urgent, and I don't want to be so passive anymore. I've been paying attention and have some goals. I'm contacting their management, hoping to get a distribution company with complete equity in personnel channels. This is what you want most, isn't it? Well, keep an eye on it for me." Chapter 354 Group Building, Subscription Recommendation. That's about it. Warner will definitely intervene, but I will always stand by you. The next day in the office of the president of Firefly Pictures, Lemon explained the additional conditions to Nolan in detail. Nolan was not impressed. In his early career as a director, he was used to compromise. At around 10 o'clock in the morning, Lemon called the production department of the company for a small meeting. There are more than 30 people in the production department, but less than 10 are qualified to enter the meeting room. Lemon, Blake Cole and Ray Warnell are at the top of the food chain, at least in this meeting room. Seeing that everyone was present, Lemon coughed twice and said, "Before the meeting begins, let me talk about the company's current production projects. The first is that Ray Warnell will be the director of Saw 3, which is scheduled to start shooting in July, and the producer is James Wan. The second is Daydreamer, which I will direct myself, and the producer is Ryan. I know about this myself. The third is a Batman movie co-produced with Warner, directed by Christopher Nolan." After talking about the projects to be produced, Lemon said, "Today, we are mainly deciding on the production team of Batman, because Warner will also arrange for filming personnel to join. We don't care about them for now, we just do our own things first. So, let Blake Cole take the position of production manager." Instantly, Blake Cole's facial muscles jumped. The production department was formed by the original staff of Rodriguez Pictures and some external practitioners. He was an old man in Rodriguez Pictures, and he really didn't expect Lemon to let him participate in such an important project. This shows that he still has a position in the company. Blake Cole thought to himself. As for some other people, they were a little disappointed. If they couldn't get the Batman project, they would only have the other 2 projects to choose from. Moreover, Lemon made the decision right away. His words and deeds were quite positive about Blake Cole. In terms of trust, it was even worse. However, Lemon didn't care about that. He continued, "Leave the location selection to William. I will definitely complete the task." A middle-aged white man wearing glasses stood up. It was William. He was the head of the set design team of Hellboy. He was quite experienced and was hired from outside. Stage management, Alexander. Art, Megan Nathan. Lighting, Gabriel. Lemon read them one by one. trying his best to put people from the production department in the crew members he had won. It was impossible to choose all of them. At least in terms of filming, Warner still had more people, but Firefly still had the advantage in the most important management positions. Everyone was a little nervous, especially those who hadn't been named yet, for fear that they would not get a position. After all, such a big project would be more outstanding in terms of qualifications. Unfortunately, only 5 could be selected in the end. Those who got the spots were naturally relieved, while those who didn't get the spots were a little disappointed, but it wasn't a big deal. I will communicate with Warner as soon as possible to officially set up the crew. The rest of the people whose names were not mentioned will join the crew of Saw 3. The details will be decided by James Wan and Leigh Whannell. Lemon didn't mention the positions of assistant director and cameraman at all, because this was what he promised Nolan. Assistant directors are usually the director's trusted assistants, and cameramen are also the people the director is most familiar with. Nolan's studio has candidates for this part, and Lemon didn't want to cross the line. After deciding, Lemon continued, "Well, everyone has read the script, right? If you have anything to say, please bring it up quickly. Brainstorming can also solve the problem as soon as possible." Seeing that everyone was still hesitating, Blake Cole said first, "The scene design of this play involves a lot of action, so the martial arts instructor is very important. Do we have anyone selected? No. Do you have any suggestions?" Lemon shook his head and asked, "What about the team that filmed Bad Guys last time? They are very good at designing action for guns and close combat." A production staff member who had participated in the filming of Bad Guys said, "Not good. Although they are from CAA, their actual combat action is very rigid. If it is a fight between gangsters or street thugs, they can be chosen, but this is Batman. We can't let Bruce Wayne fight with ruthlessness. It's not beautiful at all. The punches are real." Lemon shook his head and directly rejected this suggestion. He had worked with the action team before, so he naturally knew their action style. "What about the action team of Van Helsing? The design is more classical?" Another person spoke up. "No. It's still not beautiful enough. Isn't it designed in the script that Bruce Wayne will go to a master organization to learn martial arts? It will definitely not work without skills." It was Blake Cole who refuted, but it made sense. After talking for a long time, Lemon had an idea. "Okay, leave this to me. Let's move on to the next item. Does anyone else have any questions?" "About the location," William asked. "Many scenes in the script need to be located, but I want to ask, in addition to the United States, the snow scene may have to go to Iceland. Which country will be better for other locations? Australia? Canada? Or France? The United Kingdom? Prioritize the United Kingdom. Okay, I'll pay attention to this." William sat down decisively after getting the preference. The location of Batman is not complicated, nor is it that special, so it is still easy to find. The general location selection will consider the shooting expenses or tax reduction. In the United Kingdom, the tax reduction for shooting is not the most favorable, but it is convenient, and Nolan is more familiar with it. In fact, what they talked about was the preparatory work. As forecasting and even more specific shooting, they had to wait until the people from Warner came to discuss it. The discussion was roughly over, and Lemon knocked on the table and said, "Let's stop here for today. Everyone, try to focus on your own tasks. Okay, let's adjourn." As soon as he finished speaking, Blake Cole straightened his back and walked out, hurriedly confirming the preparations with director Nolan. As for the others, those who were selected were in a good mood. After Lemon left the meeting room, he called Johnson and asked him to help make an appointment. After hanging up the phone, he looked at the company's daily operating report in the office. In this regard, Joseph did a good job, and the overseas box office settlement with Europa was also received one after another. About half an hour later, Johnson called to say that it was arranged. Lemon drove to Chapter 355, Martial Arts, Subscription Recommendation. Hollywood, a business building near Warner Studios. In a simply decorated office, Ewan Zyangren was drawing, when suddenly an employee knocked on the door and came in. "Boss, there's a foreign guy downstairs looking for you, saying he has an invitation." "Is it the boss of Firefly Pictures?" Yuan Xiangren paused, then remembered that someone had just called and said he wanted to meet. Yes, he said his name is Lemon. The employee said again. Please ask him to come up. Yuan Xiangren said, while tidying up the things on the table. Not long after, the employee led someone into the room. Sorry to bother you. Who are you? My brother is not here. I'm his younger brother Yuan Xiangren. Just call me by my name. Please take a seat. Yuan Xiangren was polite, while guessing his purpose. What intersection would the boss of a film company have with a martial arts team? He was born in the 1940s and practiced martial arts with several brothers since he was a child. In his early years, he mixed in the martial arts industry and worked as a stuntman. Later, he was listed as an assistant martial arts instructor and followed his senior brother Tang Jia to design actions for Chang Chen. Among the entire Yuan clan, Master Yuan Bei is the most famous, but the one who has risen to prominence the most is Yuan Xiangren. As early as the mid-1970s, he had already become a little famous in Shaw Brothers. Some of his more well-known guest appearances include the old beggar who sold the Tathagata palm to our crossing in Kung Fu and the beggar who taught Suture Hark and the sleeping Ahad fist in The Legend of the Condor Heroes. But these were all later. Since the decline of Hong Kong films and the development of the Yuan clan in Hollywood, he has been more of a helper to his elder brother Master Yuan Bei, and assumed the responsibility of martial arts director. Anyway, they make a living by technology, and are not affected by the rise and fall of the market in one place. Lemon sat openly and asked first, where did Mr. Yuan go? Is it convenient to tell me? Oh, he took Quentin Tarantino's movie Kill Bill 2 and took part of the team to Chicago. This is not a coincidence. Lemon thought to himself, and then saw a pile of manuscripts on the table, so he asked, what is this? Oh, just a random drawing about action design. Yuan Xiangren explained. Can I take a look? Lemon was a little embarrassed. Originally, I wanted to ask Mr. Yuan to cooperate with us in a movie. Hearing that there was business coming, Yuan Xiangren hurriedly said, yes, but the drawing is not very good. After a while, after reading the manuscript, Lemon gave a thumbs up and praised, great, just looking at it, I have a sense of picture in my mind. But this mainly draws leg skills. Can you also design the hands? What do you mean? Yuan Xiangren asked, what style do you want? A little more masculine, or more ornamental, or focus on fake moves? It should look smooth and fast, and pay more attention to the ornamental. Okay, we are very good at this. Yeah, I know that. That's why I came to you. But if Mr. Yuan doesn't have time, can you do it too? After all, in terms of schedule, we also need to let the actors practice as soon as possible. No problem. We also allocated them in this way when we participated in the production of Charlie's Angels and The Matrix. Such suggestive words quickly penetrated Yuan Xiangren's mind. The Yuan family is still doing well in Hollywood, but in the past 2 years, it feels like the apprentice is teaching the apprentice and the master is starving. In the early years, the action design of foreigners was very crude, basically one move after another, just like boxing. Since the martial arts teams of Hong Kong films have entered Hollywood, many action designs have been stolen by others. For example, in the first part of the Matrix series, the Yuan family was still in charge of the action design. In the second and third parts, some foreign action directors were also able to participate, and the opinions put forward were more recognized by the investors. There is no way. If you don't use your own people, can you always use outsiders? Foreigners are not stupid. As a result, the Yuan family is not as popular as before, and many foreign teams have also risen. In the following years, the Yuan family has put the focus of work back to Hong Kong Island, Taiwan and the gradually rising mainland entertainment industry. Yuan Xiangren believes that his team is not bad at all. In terms of style, maturity, and experience, they are all the top ones. The only thing is that they charge very high fees, and some small crews can't afford them at all. However, although the Yuan family was traveling between the two places, Yuan Xiangren still knew a little about Hollywood. He also knew that the man in front of him was famous as a director, and he must have no shortage of money, so it was very likely that they could reach a cooperation. But he was very cunning, and did not say anything about it. He just smiled and said, they are shooting quite fast over there. I can also take some time, to go over there and exchange ideas. Lemon thought about it for a while and felt that it was not bad. Anyway, he was definitely not as professional as the Yuan family in action design. As long as director Nolan submitted the desired effect, whether it could be achieved was another matter. So, Lemon did not beat around the bush and simply said, I came here today to talk to you about cooperation. My film company will produce a superhero movie with Warner. If it is convenient, I would like to ask you to be responsible for the action design. Superhero movie? Oh, it's an adaptation of Batman. The budget for shooting will be around 150 million. Ewan Zyangren's heart beat faster instantly. A big production of 150 million is higher than a simple The Matrix, not to mention that Kill Bill can only be regarded as a medium-sized production. What is more important? Don't you have an idea? I have watched some movies with action designs by you, and I think that kind of smooth boxing and kicking will be suitable for Batman. I wonder what you mean. This. Ewan Zyangren has tended to agree, but his brother has the final say in the Yuan family class, and his cautious personality makes him unable to answer immediately. What if his brother takes another role? It's hard to say. He had to smile and said, I still need to think about it. I will give you an answer tomorrow, okay? Well, this is my business card. Call me when you have news. Lemon took out a card from his bag. The design is quite simple, with his name and a string of his personal phone number. If it is for public use, his other one is the company's front desk number, which also has the name of the president of Firefly Pictures. Then I won't bother you anymore. Let's talk again when there is a chance. Lemon got up and left. He had never filmed a movie that needed a martial arts director. The Bad Guys was also filmed by a foreign team, which was good at guns and close combat, but in terms of skills or fluency, if it didn't rely on fragmented editing, The Bourne Supremacy used fragmented editing, but the action design was actually very rough, and it was all made to be somewhat enjoyable by editing, but this was very energy consuming and time consuming, because a shot had to be disrupted, cut into pieces, and then put together countless times. Lemon thought of Chinese martial arts directors. Uncle Long's team basically served him personally, and the Han family team didn't develop in Hollywood. Then the only suitable one was the Yuan family team. They also often dealt with Hollywood crews, and were more accustomed to the work style here. Chapter 356 News. Subscription recommendation. Ewan Zyangren is a sincere man. He said he would give an answer tomorrow, and he set off to a church in Chicago that day. This is the location of Kill Bill 2. After he informed the crew at the door, a man came out from inside. Come on, come in. It was Yuan Longju, the seventh of the Yuan brothers. Like Ewan Zyangren, he is not well known and unknown outside, but he is a very important cornerstone of the Yuan family. Or it should be said that except for Zenziden, who is the top star and acts more as a star actor, the others in the Yuan family are martial arts substitutes and martial arts instructors. Where is the eldest brother? Ewan Zyangren asked. He is designing actions for that actress. Yuan Longju said, pointing inside. Look, it's right there. In a corner of the church not far away. Ewan Hepping was gesturing with Uma Thurman. The crew members passing by were busy with their own things, and Quentin Tarantino was setting up the scene with people. After Quentin Tarantino finished shooting Kill Bill 1, Saw 1 was overshadowed when it was released. Later, due to the need to prepare for film festivals and new works of old friends, the sequel, which was originally planned to be shot at the beginning of the year, was delayed until June. The two sides had cooperated when the Yuan family was in the first film. In addition, Quentin Tarantino is a take-it-all. When he was young, he worked as a salesperson in a video store. He was bored and watched all the old movies in the store, including many Hong Kong movies, and the martial arts movies in them were very popular with him. It can be said that Kill Bill 2 is his tribute to the martial arts movies he understands in his mind. For example, Liu Jia, who played the white eyebrow Taoist priest in it, shrinking his penis into his body, light skills, and palm techniques, all of which were outrageous. In the movie, there is also a heroine who was buried deep underground, relying on the kung fu of the old Taoist Baimei to fight all the way out of the coffin. In short, it was a complete mess, full of confusing element, and the film style was modern, not at all related to martial arts. Soon, the film was refilmed. Ewan Zyangren also took the opportunity to pull Ewan Hepping over. Is there something wrong? You sounded so urgent on the phone. Who is it, and what kind of movie are they going to make? Talking about business, Ewan Zyangren quickly explained. The boss of Firefly Pictures came to me in person and said that they are going to cooperate with Warner on a superhero movie, telling the story of Batman, and the investment is huge. He asked if we have time to be responsible for the action director of the movie. Superhero movie? It's the Spider-Man 2 produced by Columbia that was very popular in the newspapers a while ago. Is it that type? Ewan Zyangren nodded. Almost. They are all masterpieces adapted from comics. Ewan Hepping thought for a while, then called Ewan Shunai over. We must take over this drama. I'm busy now, so you two will take your brothers to prepare it first. Ewan Shunai is Ewan Hepping's cousin. He is currently staying in Hong Kong Island, guarding his office, and is also looking to see if there are any action dramas he can take on in Hong Kong Island. Okay, I'll go back first. Yeah. Ewan Zyangren did not hesitate and immediately returned to Los Angeles. He first called Lyman and said that he was willing to take the role. On the other hand, he quickly notified Yuan Shunai to come over. This guy is also a good action actor. Because of his fierce face, he often plays villains in some movies, such as Demons, Bandits and Bullies. Finally back. In the evening, a Cadillac stopped under the mansion. As soon as the door opened, Eva Green jumped out first and shouted, "I've been exhausted these days. Miss Eva, I'll go back first." The person who spoke was Zack Snyder, the director of New York Trip. After the filming of the movie, the actors, needed to redub. It is normal that the sound recording of some scenes is not ideal. Thank you for your hard work, and you even came all the way to send me back. It's just a small matter. Don't be so polite. Director Zack started the car again, and Lemon, who heard the sound, also came down from upstairs. Did you encounter any troubles? Lemon asked Director Zack. Fortunately, we can finish the re-editing of the movie in a few days. The two chatted for a while, and seeing that it was getting late, Director Zack hurried back to the editing room. He is also a workaholic. If he has to work hard to edit the materials in such a month, he will probably stay up late many nights. Watching the car leave, Lemon greeted Eva and carried her luggage upstairs. "Ah, I can finally have a good rest." In the living room, Eva lay on the soft sofa and hummed. Come to think of it, in these few months, she first took on The Day After Tomorrow and then filmed Trip to New York, and in between she had to take time to run the promotion activities of The Day After Tomorrow. She really felt the busy life of an actor. Hey, what have you been busy with recently? The Day After Tomorrow? Eva asked again. Well, there's another Batman directed by Nolan. That means we are going to be separated again. I just came back and was thinking about going out for a few days together. No way, we can't just ignore everything. Can't we take a few days off first, go out and have some fun before working? Where do you want to go? I haven't decided yet, but we haven't spent much time together for a long time. Eva complained. Lyman sat beside her and touched her face. There will be time. But you're so busy. Then why don't you come to my company? No, my ideal is to be an actor. What should I do then? In fact, Lyman has already gotten used to such a busy and fulfilling life, but it is true that the time they spend together is slowly decreasing. Don't I know? Eva acted like a child and even swung around Lyman's arm. Come on. You're not usually very affectionate to me when you're acting, and you often hang up on me. Eva didn't say anything. Both of them are career oriented. Once they are busy, they don't have the energy to think too much. If they are not busy, it would be good if people don't have the energy to think about other things. Seeing her becoming lazy again, Lemon smiled calmly. Chapter 357. Everyone wants to participate. Please subscribe and recommend. Warner worked very quickly. Soon the crew was filled with people. Even the recording and production staff were not spared. Not to mention that there was also an assistant producer and 2 production managers who were in charge of accounting, logistics, and even the representatives of the third-party insurance company who kept informing the preparations. Of course, this was within Lemon's expectations. Think about the Titanic that 20th Century Fox and Paramount collaborated on. The all-ace lineup also used 7 people in charge of production business, including 3 chief producers and 4 production managers, who could manage everything from inside to outside. This is also what made Cameron complain every day and feel bad. It was from this that the tyrant on the set gradually spread. Afterwards, Lyman finalized the martial arts director with great efficiency. Naturally, it was the Yuan family who was hired. A total of $400,000 needed to be paid to follow the crew throughout the whole process, and all the money would be settled after the filming was completed. As for Nolan, except for the assistant director and a few trusted and experienced people who followed him during the filming, there was no room for personnel. The people at Warner kept asking him questions about his preparations, but he didn't get annoyed and answered them carefully. Most directors who can make it in Hollywood have one thing in common, that is, they can compromise and tolerate. Talent is another matter. For example, everyone laughed at Cameron for being a truck driver, not a professional, and he was not as bad-tempered as he is now. Can you imagine him raising funds with a smile? His first film, Piranha 2, The Spawning, was still someone else's mess. The previous director quit, and he found an opportunity to persuade the producer to take over. It was someone else's project. Later, it was because he was always successful that he gradually didn't need to tolerate. Because he could make money. If you want to work with him, you need the investors to tolerate his bad habits. Nolan is the same. If he didn't compromise in the right places, he wouldn't have become a great director. Before you prove yourself, pride will only make people angry. Hello, President. It was another new day, and Lyman came to the company with a newspaper as usual. The hottest event recently is that Spider-Man 2 will premiere worldwide on June 30th. The release of this movie is different from the usual ones. Global means that it will be released in the market at the same time, unlike the usual Hollywood movies that are always released in 1 or 2 countries first, and then released overseas after about a week or completely closed in the local market. Don't think it's simple. Ordinary movies don't like to do this. Because, in order to achieve global simultaneous release, in addition to having overseas channels, it must be carefully planned in advance. After all, it takes a lot of manpower and financial resources to ensure that so many markets and so many theaters can communicate smoothly in release. At present, the global film market has not been fully developed like the United States. Columbia has been busy with this matter since the beginning of March, and it has spent 10 or 20 million to make it happen. Of course, there are many advantages. That is, it can greatly develop the market value of the film. If it is really of excellent quality and popular, it can instantly ignite momentum and expand the box office. In the future, many blockbusters like to do this, but in 2004, it was still not common. After reading the newspaper, Lyman went to the production department. As the boss of the production company and the chief producer, he has the highest power. Although he doesn't have to worry too much about the specific work, he has to support Nolan. Warner Brothers threw so many managers here. Although I know that they also attach great importance to it, the distribution of power is a big problem. Moreover, the casting director and another executive director are also their people. However, although these people gathered at Firefly Pictures, it is far from the time to discuss specific filming. Because the location selection, actors and even the main audience of the film still need to be determined. And on top of that, the tone of a series of issues such as rating and plot should be set. In the huge conference room, people divided into 2 groups gave each other opinions. The director was surrounded in the middle and enjoyed all kinds of arguments. Lyman only followed one principle, to find the best solution and support Nolan's filming idea. So, this movie is an action thriller, targeting comic fans, young people and some ethnic minority groups, right? Warner's production manager said, after listening to Nolan's confirmation of the plot outline. Yes, that's what I think. Nolan answered very patiently. If it's a thriller, will there be violent scenes and blood? Another production manager asked. There will be some, but it won't be too explicit, and it won't emphasize this aspect. It's just that the atmosphere of the film tends to be thriller. Nolan answered again. That's good. If there are a few sensitive scenes, we can still strive for a PG-13 rating. The production manager nodded. The plot is also suitable for non-comic fans to watch, and it won't affect the viewing effect. Mainstream comic fans shouldn't hate it too much. It's a good grasp. Warner is really awesome. Such a movie can get a PG-13 rating. His Bad Guys only has a few violent scenes, but it is still rated R. But who can blame the MPAA Association, the American rating system, whose review members are jointly served by the 7 largest film companies in the United States, the 6 majors plus MGM, and some practitioners in television media. As long as Warner is willing to pay a certain price, it can still get away with it. For example, X-Men is also PG-13. The film is tentatively scheduled for the summer vacation next year, when students will be on vacation. Students are the main audience of comics. Another production manager said. What about the distribution? Have you communicated with them? It was Lyman who spoke up. I have communicated with the distribution department. After the preparations are completed, we will hold a launch conference to hype up the Batman adaptation. Then, after the film is completed, we will guide the popularity step by step until the film is released. We still need to see the finished film before deciding on the specific publicity and promotion costs, but we will definitely cooperate with the initial hype. After more than 2 hours of discussion, the people from Warner Brothers were indeed professional. They asked all questions and left with satisfaction. No one wanted to fail in this project. As soon as they walked out of the conference room, Lyman patted Nolan on the shoulder and said, "Thank you for your hard work. This is my job. There is no such thing as hard work or not." Nolan shook his head and sighed. If we can convince them and reach a consensus, it will be a blessing. When it comes to the specific shooting, Lyman nodded in agreement. Have you finished your storyboard? Soon. I'll go to the set first. Part of the crew has already started designing props and costumes at Warner Studios. After Nolan left, Lyman's phone suddenly vibrated. It was a text message from Kate Beckinsale. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 358. Move upon hearing the news. Please subscribe and recommend. Kate Beckinsale is a woman with a lot of ideas. When she was filming Bad Guys, she took the initiative to hint at certain aspects. Although it didn't work out in the end, she always felt that Lyman had feelings for her. Otherwise, why do the two always have some intersections? She is indeed very confident in her charm. But since the last Golden Globe Awards ceremony, it has been almost half a year, and Lyman has never contacted her actively, and she has never found a suitable opportunity to meet and chat together. It is clear that this guy doesn't take herself too seriously at all. Kate Beckinsale is a little sad. She is very beautiful and there is no shortage of people who have ideas about her in her life. She does have a good impression of Lyman. He is of moderate age, talented, and most importantly, he is a director. Think about it, a director always has extra opportunities to promote an actor, even if he himself does not have a suitable role. What about the circle he is in? She never hides her desire to be popular and famous. In other words, entering the entertainment industry requires this kind of thinking of striving to climb up. A woman with no background and no backing should not be competitive. Why not just go back to her hometown? She didn't want to go back to England, or she shouldn't go back in disgrace. But she failed again. She didn't get Escape from the Island, but she got Van Helsing. Unfortunately, both of these two films failed at the box office, but since Escape from the Island has not been released yet, the young lady doubted her luck. She doesn't have much power to choose films, but it's not that she doesn't have any at all. At least she can choose not to take it. But both the agency and the producer gave her a strong confidence that she could succeed. After all, a big production of hundreds of millions of dollars can't fail so easily. Well, Van Helsing and Pearl Harbor were both very popular before they were released, but they both failed. It can't be said to be a failure, it's just that the box office is not very good. The most painful thing is that she encountered both of these blockbusters. If a second-tier actress messes up one of them, I guess she will have no place in Hollywood. At that time, even her agent ignored her. Then she was lucky enough to star in Bad Guys. With the results, she got back some capital. Then she invested in Van Helsing. Her life began to be difficult again. And as she expected, the media took advantage of the situation and blamed her for the failure of the movie. It seemed that her performance was the reason why the audience didn't buy it. After finally getting through this period, gradually, when everyone's attention was chasing hotspots again, the agent brought a news. Warner is going to restart Batman. This has spread to various brokerage companies, and the producer is Lyman, and Firefly Pictures is also involved in the production. Although it is not clear why Lyman would take up such a first-line project with Warner, it does not prevent the agent from making suggestions based on this. He said, "Haven't you worked with him before? Can you get some inside information and maintain a friendship? Ask him out, be ambiguous, and don't refuse anything he wants to do." Hollywood is also a society of favors. Under the same conditions and suitable circumstances, everyone also likes to use acquaintances. So it is not shameful to use the back door. On the contrary, it is a proof that an actor has a lot of connections in the circle. However, Kate Beckinsale was a little embarrassed, not because of what her agent said. If Lyman really coveted her looks, it would be fine, but it was obvious that he was not like that, so it felt very awkward to do so. Unfortunately, she had no say in such matters. The situation was pressing, and she was about to fail in Hollywood. If there was a chance to try, she had to seize it. Of course, these were just her thoughts before she met Lyman. When they really met, looking at Lyman sitting in the coffee shop with a puzzled look on his face, she couldn't help but think of the acting course that night when they really talked for a long time in the cold wind. She suddenly felt a little ashamed. The good impression of others on her, in turn, became a kind of bargaining chip that could be used to succeed. In addition, he had already established a relationship with Eva, which made her even more uncomfortable. "You ask me out, what's the matter?" "Yeah." She smiled reservedly. "But what needs to be said still needs to be said. Warner is really going to restart the Batman movie?" After asking, she regretted it a little. If it's not convenient to say, just pretend I didn't ask. Lyman didn't care. Warner didn't want to hide this matter at all, and even wanted to stir up the momentum. Yes, Warner has already approved the project. Director Nolan and the crew have begun to prepare for filming. After confirming the news, and even knowing some of the progress, Kate Beckinsale subconsciously glanced at Lyman across from her. This is a project he is optimistic about, and it should be successful. If it succeeds, a project like Batman will definitely be very popular. What's wrong? Lyman felt that Kate Beckinsale was a little hesitant, as if she had a lot of thoughts hidden. "If you have anything to say, just say it." Kate Beckinsale quickly came back to her senses and asked in a low voice, "Will there be any female characters in it? For example, Catwoman or something like that?" A few days ago, she also studied the Batman comics hard. Lyman shook his head. "We are shooting the prequel of Batman. There is no linkage between Batman and Catwoman. Maybe Warner will arrange it in the future." He thought for a while and said, "And the actress who plays Catwoman has already been played by Halle Berry. Then what about the prequel?" Hearing this, Lyman laughed. He actually knew what Kate would say when she asked him to meet. He didn't mind it either. After all, compared to those actresses he had never met, he always liked those he had worked with more. "You want to ask if there is a role suitable for you, right?" Lyman said with a smile. "There will be a casting audition in a few days, just come then." Regarding this audition, people from Warner will also participate. Everyone recommends some actors, but whether they can be selected in the end depends on the opinions of all parties. In fact, even if she didn't say it, she would probably be able to get the audition. Because the character of Prosecutor Rachel is not complicated, and she is also a very traditional vase in commercial movies. There is not much room for performance, just pleasing to the eye. With her own conditions, she is completely satisfied. It's not his decision on the role. Even several agencies said they wanted to provide package services, but they were all rejected by him. Warner attaches great importance to the participation of all parties, and he doesn't want to ruin things. It's just that the other party seems to have misunderstood something. It's very strange. Chapter 359 Accountant, Subscription Recommendation. It's a new day again. Nolan got up from bed early in the morning, cleaned up, and sat in the study to start working. He is a very rational director. The producers who have worked with him are very impressed that he does not waste funds, which comes from his very rational planning. He always considers the works he is going to shoot in a comprehensive way. So many people call him accountant. He really likes to concentrate on one thing at a time. In the future, Empire magazine raised a very interesting question and asked a group of Hollywood directors. The magazine probably thinks that the director's job has some ambiguous connection with arithmetic, so they want to know whether the directors have excellent mathematical calculation ability. As a result, many directors answer slap the magazine in the face, and they all like to distance themselves from numbers. George Clooney said, "I'm very bad at math." Spielberg also said, "When I was in school, I always got D in math." Lyman also replied that compared with accounting, making movies is really a piece of cake. Only Nolan answered this question seriously. He said that in the process of making a movie, the planning of the shooting scenes and even the expenditure of the budget require you to be sensitive to numbers. Otherwise, you will find that the shooting budget will easily disappear during the shooting process, and your movie has not been finished as required. Well, the master is Cameron, who always has insufficient budget. If someone has counted the return on investment of Nolan's works in his career, he will find that he is definitely not a risk taker. His shooting is very purposeful and full of calculated results. From Following to Dunkirk in later generations, his investment budget and total box office can be brought into a relatively safe formula, and a safe answer can be smoothly solved. From him, there is no news of box office failure. Even if he is successful and the film company is happy to allocate a lot of money, he rarely exceeds the budget. For example, after the Batman trilogy, Paramount asked him to shoot Interstellar. After the shooting, he saved Paramount a lot of budget. Obviously, he doesn't like to do things outside of the plan, and he is not the kind of self-centered film director who cries to investors about insufficient funds and wants to shoot freely. It's right to make a movie according to your own wishes, but after finishing a work, he walks away, ignores the market, and makes no compromises. Not only does it not make the investors make money, but it also makes people lose money. This is definitely not a qualified director. How to coordinate everything between creators, audiences, and investors also requires calculation. He is like a business artist, selling the most suitable paintings and getting the most appropriate results. Just like he always likes to wear a very formal suit. Someone asked him why he always dresses like this. He said, "I'm used to wearing uniforms, and this combination is both suitable, convenient, and fast." It is probably this kind of thinking that makes him like to arrange the numbers and data of the work properly. Maybe he will never be a businessman director who can exchange huge box office with very little cost, nor is he the kind of artist who makes his investors do a losing business. In between, when asked by reporters about the leap in production scale, he said, "I don't know if others have the same experience as me, but for me, from paying for Following with my own money to making movies with other people's money, I have only learned one thing: control. It's like learning to swim. It doesn't matter whether the water is 2 feet deep or 200 feet deep. The key is that you either swim to the shore or drown." This is a balance between the market and creation. When the investors are satisfied, he pursues his own creative ideas. So even when thinking about the scene shots of the script, he is used to the continuity of the scenes. In the small room in summer, the window is open and the light shines in. Today's sun is not as big as yesterday, but it is still very warm. He draws a draft and compares the scene classification. Unknowingly, it has become a thick stack. This week's storyboard creation is all here. The character lines are actually very simple, and the colors are more prominent. Thick darkness surrounded a child, who fell into a pit. The wanton and flamboyant bats were startled, whistling and flying. This was a scene storyboard at the beginning of the film, and it was also the place where the turning point began. After finishing this draft, he checked the time. Nolan put away the storyboard, changed into leather shoes, and went straight to Firefly Pictures. There were still many things to be determined in the preparation of Batman. Let's first determine the style of the film shots. In the huge conference room, people from Warner, Lyman, and several of his own confidants were all seated. Nolan stood up, took out the prepared storyboard, and pasted it on the board. But, in an instant, there was a wave of restlessness in the room. Everyone was knowledgeable, including the people from Warner. There was a work with a very strong style on the 1 meter long and half meter wide drawing board. The main color was still dark, so rich that it seemed to overflow, but the character inside was a man wearing a signature batsuit. He watched another crime happen in the dark night. At this moment, the feeling given to people was not that of anger or a sense of justice, but rather a feeling of pity for their misfortune and anger at their lack of struggle. Suffering in the darkness, firm in silence. Everyone's attention was attracted. Although the man's facial features could not be seen due to the mask, it seemed that he was watching everything with his eyes, watching Gotham gradually move towards destruction. This feeling was extremely clear, and it was presented to everyone without reservation with the concrete visual impact of the drawing. Laymen watched the excitement, while experts watched the doorway. This undoubtedly inherited the comic style of The Dark Knight Returns, but it was handled in a more classical and realistic style. Nolan continued, "This is the entire tone of the work, especially since there are many scenes at night. How to achieve a dark style without visual fatigue for the audience is the first thing that the light and camera crew have to solve. For a movie, the imaging effect must be understood by all departments." And what Nolan wanted was to integrate his own realistic style based on comics. The people from Warner nodded in approval first. They had all read the comics several times and all agreed with the visual experience of the lens presented in this drawing. "Okay then." Lemon knocked on the table and said, "The camera crew should come up with a specific lens plan as soon as possible." "No problem." The head of the camera crew stepped forward and answered. Afterwards, everyone left the meeting room and continued to work on their own things. But the atmosphere was different. The crew members obviously had some changes in their attitude towards director Nolan. Chapter 360, The Right to Speak, Subscription Recommendation. The crew is a very delicate place. Some people have more say, while others have less say. The so-called main trunk and weak branches, or the main branches and weak trunk, all involve some kind of human heart. What's more, 2 different film companies have sent people to produce. It sounds nice to call it co-production, but cooperation should also be divided into ups and downs. If there is a disagreement, who should be listened to? As the first producer, Lemon can't control everything. Coincidentally, after director Nolan showed such a hand, his authority rose. There are also Warner people in the crew, and there are quite a few. If the imaging style is to be unified, they have to listen to director Nolan. Firefly Pictures will definitely not say anything, but some Warner production staff get together and whisper, and the topic of discussion cannot leave the film. They may be afraid of being heard by outsiders, so they don't shy away from talking in groups. No matter what crew it is, as long as it is not all the director's people, there will always be factions. The high profile of the other faction, seeing the increase in the right to speak, is a big deal. Especially when you are a director, and you are making comments in Hollywood, where everyone recognizes the producer-centered system, and you are very capable. It will hurt some people's hearts. Lemon yawned, not caring about the actions of some people. Anyway, he was the first producer who fought for the position to support director Nolan. No matter how he played tricks, he didn't have the ability. Whoever showed up would be embarrassed. You don't have to do a lot of things yourself. Our funds have just been put into the group, and it's still the first stage. Warner will also be worried that we will suddenly withdraw our funds and leave. Don't worry, even if the people sent by Warner want to do something, they have to do it in a good way, in a way that is beneficial to the filming. Otherwise they themselves can't pass Warner's test. Lemon said to Nolan with a smile. This period of time is his busiest. He comes very early every day and goes back very late. He also has to find time to complete the storyboard script. People are worried about whether his body can bear it. I know, I only make requirements to the crew, and I rarely ask about other aspects. Nolan knows what he is doing. That seems to be true. He has worked with Warner before, and he doesn't seem to be the kind of person who is arbitrary. Even if he is very successful, he has never done this. That's good. Lemon tilted his head and thought for a while, and advised again, you should pay more attention to rest. I will. He said so, but he still looked like a workaholic. Have you chosen the location? The filming locations that can be used for the entire movie are roughly a classical castle, street, theater, ice lake, Batcave, etc. Lemon had sent people to scout the location a long time ago. Soon, people prepared the information and photos and brought them over. Because the main location is in the UK, the most suitable castle is only this one that can be used as Wayne Manor. Black Coal introduced. This property was built by the Rothschild family in the 1850s and is located in the north of London. Whether it is the area, the interior decoration or the well-maintained castle, it is very suitable for the location of Wayne Manor. Are there underground caves? Lemon asked, flipping through the photos. No, there is no Batcave that fits the description in the script. It's still hard to find a natural cave that big, and it will definitely be troublesome to shoot. I suggest we build the set outside. Lemon didn't say anything and looked at Nolan. Well, let's build the set. Although he likes real life shooting the most, he is not incapable of being unreliable. The street scenes and fighting scenes require a lot of scenes, and we can't maintain such a long shooting length, so I split several parts. Blake Cole picked out a few street buildings from a pile of photos. One part was shot in New York, and the other part was shot in London, England. When they were edited together, it became the streets of Gotham City. Well, through editing techniques, the audience will think that these scenes are all happening on the same street, and it will not affect the complaints and troubles caused by the long road closure. You did a good job. Lemon praised. What about the glacial lake? There are many places in Iceland that fit the bill, but the most suitable one is the Vatnajökull Glacier in southeastern Iceland. The location scouts sent out were very professional, and the architectural styles of all the photos selected and sent back were very unified and in line with the scenes in the script. Let's just decide on these locations. The rest can be completed by setting up the sets in the studio. Nala nodded with satisfaction. Okay. Lemon also nodded. What about the preliminary budget for the location shooting? Don't worry, these are the most cost effective and probably won't exceed $8 million. Blake Cole added, this is assuming that the filming goes smoothly and does not exceed the estimated scene rental time. After that, he took out 2 bills and said, if it's settled, just sign it. I'll let those people in the location crew communicate with the local department first to see if they can get some subsidies back. As for the manor, the shooting cycle must be discussed in advance. As for the initial expenses of scene selection, the bill is also here, the travel expenses of several people, and my role as executive producer. It's the result of personal labor. Approve the account first. There is nothing to say in this regard. After Lemon signed, he said, you should also keep a close eye on the costumes and props, and don't make any mistakes. Isn't a production manager from Warner in charge of this? There are only 5 people in my location crew, and 4 of them have been transferred out. How can we have enough manpower? Said Blake Cole. That's why you need to keep an eye on it. You don't need to do anything. Just check whether the final result meets expectations. If you have any questions, come to me or direct to Nolan. Do you understand? That's good. I promise to complete the task. Blake Cole was very happy. In addition to choosing the location, he was also allowed to have a hand in costumes and props. What does this mean? The leader values him. An old man from Rodion can do this job. What else is there to be dissatisfied about? Now the company is getting more and more on the right track, and there are more and more people like him. New employees may have a lot of experience outside, and the competition is much greater. He can't show off his qualifications. Besides, Lemon values people with ability. If he can have a chance to show more and return to the company, how can his qualifications be less? Damn, he must work hard and seize this opportunity. Blake Cole encouraged himself. Okay, go and get busy. After this meeting, the crew's morale was a little unstable, but they still had to cooperate to complete their respective tasks. They were fighting, but no one was willing to bear the burden of the failure of the movie. Chapter 361 Casting Template. Subscription Recommendation. There are many people in the crew, so the efficiency is naturally high. The next day, Lemon called a meeting again. There is no other way. There are too many people. If they don't hold a meeting, they can't get together. This preparatory meeting is to determine the direction of casting. After the theme of the meeting was set, stylists Costumers and other personnel began to appear at the meeting. A simple character relationship diagram was drawn on a whiteboard, and Nolan presided over it. In fact, there are not many main characters in this Batman. Bruce Wayne, Prosecutor Rachel Dawes, Gotham City Police Commissioner Jim Gordon, and the biggest villain is Henry Duca, the leader of the League of Shadow Warriors. Important supporting roles include Alfred, the butler of Wayne Manor, Lucius Fox, a genius employee of Wayne Enterprises, who provides Batman with all high-tech weapons, and Scarecrow Jonathan Crane, who also leads to the second main line, the story of Arkham Asylum. Nolan wrote under Bruce Wayne's name, height should be over 1.8 meters, solid, about 30 years old, tough face, outstanding temperament. Then he drew a line to Rachel Dawes. For the female lead, she should be young and beautiful, and it would be best if she and the male lead could look like a couple when standing together. Everyone at the meeting laughed quietly. Everyone knew that this was just an ambiguous emotional line deliberately set up, because the whole play was all men. The height should also be over 1.7 meters. A casting director at Warner added, Bruce Wayne is very tall, so the female lead can't be too short, and the main thing is that she must be beautiful. Haha. Everyone laughed again. Choosing a vase? Everyone knows what it means. After roughly explaining the casting criteria, Warner's casting director added, there must be a significant role for African Americans, which will be of great help in attracting black audiences. Well, let me emphasize the actor aspect again. Nolan concluded, first of all, Batman, Bruce Wayne, must be strong and not baggy. When he puts on the battlesuit, he must give people the feeling that he is Batman. Then there is Commissioner Gordon, who is calm and responsible, and has the temperament of a person in the system. He should be a little more mature overall. The butler Alfred is a very important person. As an old man in Wayne Manor, he also plays a big role in Bruce Wayne's transformation into Batman. His performance is a little difficult to grasp, so we must find an actor with rich experience. When selecting actors in Hollywood, all aspects must be taken into consideration, and more attention is paid to the intentions of the investors, rather than the directors. Nolan could only make the initial requests in this way, speaking one by one, in detail and briefly, and finally said, let me introduce everyone. This is Landon Gascoigne, who has always cooperated with me in casting. A man stood up and greeted him. Obviously, this was the assistant director who was trusted by director Nolan. This was also the rule set by both parties before. It was not that Nolan was playing any tricks. Lyman said from the beginning that his people would be responsible for casting. Of course, Warner also had a part. It was the person who helped Nolan to organize the role template at the beginning of the meeting. His name was Alan Austin. Seeing that the preparatory meeting was almost done, Lyman said, casting is a big project. Anyone who has a suitable actor can recommend it, but whether it can be selected is another matter. In that case, the production of this film is a task that everyone undertakes together, and it should not be taken lightly. Okay, let's adjourn the meeting. Casting director is a very interesting position. Before filming begins, they have enviable power, and they can make friends, use backdoors, or even worse, if they are a little shameless. It is not difficult to be a groom every night, but once the casting is completed, they will become marginal figures again. And if the selected actors and their crews do not perform well, they are likely to be blamed. After all, you are the one who put the people in. If you did not screen them well, it is not your fault. They may not have the power to make the final decision, but there is always a limit to how to choose. For example, for a role, they can define how many actors will compete, and the first round of screening is basically done by these people. But Hollywood is so big, with so many actors, who is qualified to compete for the next round? There are countless opportunities that can be manipulated. But the casting director dare not mess around. At least they must meet the requirements. Otherwise, they will be picked out as a typical example. Whether it is the people of Warner or the people around director Nolan, some people will always look unhappy. Firefly Pictures, the president's office. Landon Gasco silently took a copy of the actor's profile sent by CAA and marked it solemnly. This was naturally Kate Beckinsale's personal profile that Lemon ordered. He casually greeted Landon, his own man, and then went to do his own thing. He didn't have much determination to let anyone play the role, just giving them a chance. On the other side, Warner's casting director Alan Austin was also busy dealing with various favors. Some were recommended by executives of a department in the headquarters, and some were secretly thrown in by agents who promised benefits. Most of them were his superiors. For example, the 3 production managers recommend someone. An acquaintance? Hey, my friend's daughter wants to compete for the role of the prosecutor. Please help me. I knew it. Alan Austin pretended to hum twice to show his presence at the moment, but he still agreed to it. Anyway, the first round of casting. The last round was the top management of the crew, and the Warner headquarters had to confirm it together. At that time, he would not have any room to speak. Why not be more generous and get more benefits at this time? Put her information here. I'll be frank with you. I can only guarantee that she can enter the second round. If she doesn't make it, you can't blame me. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. This is the only time that the casting director has a bright future. Money, benefits, and favors are more valuable than Franklin. Anyway, it's okay to be a little lenient when selecting according to certain requirements. In other words, without the consent of many senior executives, it's unknown who will get the final role. The casting director doesn't have much burden, and he didn't promise to pass. The crew also understands. In fact, in Hollywood, the most dirty things happen during casting. Not to mention that all the powerful people in the crew will have social circles, and it is common to stuff their own people into them as much as possible. Moreover, when the conditions are similar, doesn't it just rely on some friendship to add points? In a way, it is also the best proof that an actor can have a certain influence in the circle. Therefore, the undercurrent will continue to surge. Chapter 362, Tom's engagement party. Subscription recommendation. In Lemon's previous life, the most common part of his work experience was meetings. Especially when filming TV series, the leaders of the TV station also like to come and participate. To put it nicely, it's called mobilization, but to put it bluntly, it seems that these people are addicted to meetings. They are very keen on the passionate style of being watched by a group of people below and giving instructions. Even if they don't know much about filming, they will talk endlessly. After waiting for the leaders to finish speaking and meet the needs, a lot of the days of preparatory work in the early stage were wasted. However, it's still good now. The people in Warner are quite pragmatic. It took about 3 days to complete the second round of actor screening. When the final round was about to be determined, Lemon took a break and went to attend Tom Cruise's engagement party. This is really amazing. As expected, Tom Cruise developed a liking for Katie Holmes again. They first met on the streets of Rome, Italy, in April. In mid-May, when Tom Cruise began to select the heroine for his Mission Impossible 3, Tom Cruise was in a much better situation than in his previous life because of the follow-up effect of the film Bad Guys, which Lemon had collaborated with Paramount. The collaboration did not drag on for 2 years like in his previous life. Katie Holmes also came to audition, and the two met again. According to the hotly rumored gossip in the newspapers, Tom Cruise kissed Katie Holmes in the underground parking lot, and then the two disappeared from the public eye for 10 days. No one knew where Tom Cruise went during this week. When he appeared in front of the media again, he suddenly announced that he had found love, Katie Holmes. Then, they got engaged. According to the speculation of some gossip magazines, during this week, Tom Cruise may have taken his girlfriend to the center of Scientology to be recognized by the believers. Everyone knew that Tom Cruise's marriage was interfered with by Scientology, so it was normal to make such an inference. As for who is Katie Holmes? She was born in Ohio, USA in 1978. She is 16 years younger than Tom Cruise. Although she is an actress, she has never been popular. The only thing that makes people remember her is Rachel Dawes, the heroine of Batman Begins, currently being prepared by Lemon. But now it seems that it may be hopeless, because Tom Cruise said he was going on a honeymoon. Katie is not the kind of woman with a strong sense of career. She retired from the film industry for her family in the later life. However, rumors say that Katie took the initiative to work behind the scenes to please the Church of Scientology, otherwise her marriage with Tom would not last long. I don't know whether it will last long or not. Anyway, according to the previous life, the two broke up again. Tom Cruise is suitable to be a friend, but not a husband. However, this has nothing to do with Lemon. He was just invited by Tom Cruise to attend an internal engagement party. He went with blessings. The party was arranged in Beverly Hills, Tom Cruise's mansion. It is more for people with a close relationship. For example, Nicolas Cage and Shirley Lansing, who have not been seen for a long time, and even some actors, directors, and producers who have little intersection with Lemon, but are quite good friends with Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise, holding hands with Katie Holmes, kept greeting the guests around him. It was quite a sense of announcing to the world. He was wearing a dark suit and tie, with a kind face, just like a person who fell in love, and couldn't help smiling. Hi, Lemon, what are you busy with recently? Filming a movie? Yes. You look so handsome today. Lemon shook hands with him, and took the initiative to hug him. This is Katie Holmes, my fiancée. Tom introduced with a smile. Katie was still very beautiful when she was young. No wonder Tom Cruise couldn't resist her. Mr. Lemon, I wish you happiness. At this time, Nicolas Cage noticed this and ran over. Hey, Tom Lemon. He came over to join in the fun, of course, because the two hadn't seen each other for a long time. I heard that you cooperated with Warner on Batman. Yeah, what's the matter? Haha, you are really amazing. Cage sighed. I can hear about this when I was filming in Australia. Is it that serious? It's an attitude problem, you know. Similar to the relationship between Tom and Paramount. Hehe, forget about your chat. Why do you have to involve me? Tom Cruise couldn't listen anymore. Isn't it? I have a hunch that Warner's attitude towards me is not always so friendly. Yeah, everything is about interests. When Mission Impossible 1 started filming, it was still a project that I paid for, but when it was successful, Paramount was not so easy to talk to. Tom Cruise also spoke from his feelings. The debt between him and Paramount could not be settled, no matter how he calculated it. They always quarreled in cooperation. They always compromised in cooperation. Paramount felt that Tom Cruise took too much and said he was greedy, but the project was in Tom Cruise's hands. If he didn't agree to shoot, Paramount couldn't do anything. However, Paramount was not a great philanthropist. They always delayed the development of Mission Impossible in the hope that Tom Cruise would give in. Unfortunately, Tom Cruise was not stupid. After all, the core issue was the distribution of benefits. Tom Cruise was a busy man at the banquet. The two of them talked for a total of 10 minutes, and then he took his girlfriend to greet people everywhere. Lemon continued to chat with Cage about his recent situation. He recently took on another movie, Lord of War, which was directed by Andrew Niccol. The salary was naturally more than 2,000 yuan. He was also one of the most valuable male actors on the market. Well, Jim Carrey entered the 20 million club as early as 1996. However, the development paths of the two are inconsistent, and Jim Carrey's limitations are even greater. After all, the transformation path of a comedian is always the most difficult. I think the audience is used to the actors' smiling faces, and they don't want the actors to play serious dramas or slightly serious ones. Jim Carrey's best way should be to start with light comedy and slowly seek transformation. At least, the audience's perception should be changed slowly. For example, The Truman Show also has element of light comedy. Coincidentally, The Daydreamer is also an inspirational movie of the light comedy type. Just right. Chapter 363 Male Protagonist. Subscription recommendation. Early morning, Warner Studios. Walk 5 minutes inside. The studio with the nameplate number 1 on the left is where the Batman crew is located. Inside, everyone is already busy. She is invited by Warner. She used to be the costume designer for Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets and Tomb Raider. She also studied art and is very good at modeling. Blake Cole introduced and suddenly said, "Hey, over there, Lindy." He waved his hand, and Lemon saw a girl slowly walking over. She had short hair, a slim figure, and thick eyebrows. At first glance, she was not amazing, but the more you look at her, the more you can feel a kind of neutral beauty. She was 30 years old, but her skin did not look rough like that of ordinary white women. "Hello. Hello." The two shook hands and exchanged some courtesy. Can I see the batsuit you designed for Bruce Wayne? It's just a sample. We have to wait until the actor comes to design a new one. The girl didn't say much and was a little reserved. Would you like to see the sample too? Yes. Lindy Hemming was stunned and then obediently took the first version of the design of the clothes. According to her, it was designed according to the comics, and it is really waterproof and high temperature resistant, but the cost is not cheap. The fabric alone costs more than $30,000. It looks good. Blake Cole nodded. It is indeed not bad, with a handsome cape and mask. Isn't that what costume design does? To be as close to the character as possible. But since it is Batman, with the comics as the basis, it saves a lot of thinking, and just tries to restore the image of the comics. The two of them discussed it one by one, and then went to visit the creation of the Batmobile. According to director Nolan's requirements, Batmans must be able to drive, not like ordinary props, that are just a showpiece and only need to make the appearance. After visiting these, he went to see the internal set. Generally speaking, the preparation work is progressing quite fast. The two walked out of the studio, and Blake Cole hesitated and said, I think, are we interfering too much? This doesn't seem to be our job. Why not? Isn't that what we producers do? Confirm all the shooting progress, and ensure that there will be no trouble. Then, will there be gossip? We are involved in everything, and we are almost in charge of everything. Will Warner be unhappy? People want Firefly Pictures to produce with Warner, and he consciously took on a lot of affairs. Lemon smiled. Let me put it this way. Did anyone from Warner intervene in this? Yes. What about casting? Yes. That's it. Everyone is for a better shooting. Is it wrong? Blake Cole scratched his head. Is that right? The problem is that they just checked it, and you went to check it again, as if you don't believe that Warner can be responsible. Oh, that's right. Lemon was really worried. After all, he paid for the film. What's wrong with him being more careful and taking care of it? Well, I'm just saying this casually. Blake Cole quickly changed the subject. Some props and set building still need time. For the Batmobile, I heard from the props team that it will probably take at least a week or two to meet the requirements. It's okay. Don't worry. The actors haven't been decided yet. Well, isn't the last round of selection tomorrow? Almost. We have our targets. Let's contact the people from Warner tomorrow. Okay. This way it's efficient, and they can't find any faults. The two of them went out for a walk again. Blake Cole was still thinking about Warner's participation. But to be honest, for the sake of work, no one could say anything. Lemon didn't have any selfish motives. He just wanted the filming and release of the movie to go smoothly. In the end, Blake Cole left, and Lemon went back to Firefly Pictures to supervise. In the blink of an eye, it was afternoon. After lunch, Lemon drove straight to CAA. After explaining the purpose of the visit to the front desk, I met Kevin Howden. CAA has a large number of the shortlisted actors this time, and the chances are very high. Why? Christian Bale, Morgan Freeman, Kate Beckinsale and others are all signed to CAA, and his personal economic contract with director Nolan is also with CAA. Not long after, Kevin brought another person into the reception room. When the two met, they hugged each other first. Oh, these muscles and this body, they are really well trained. The person who came was naturally Christian Bale, who was also the version of Bruce Wayne in his previous life. When this project started, Lemon did not think that Christian Bale would interpret the new Batman again. Don't think it's just an impression. In fact, this guy was a candidate for the male lead in the Batman series directed by Tim Burton when he was young and unknown when he just debuted. If he was not too young and not famous, he would really beat Michael Keaton and become the first generation of Batman. What people rely on is their temperament. Let's put it this way, without Warner's intervention, Tim Burton's first choice for the audition was Christian Bale. In fact, he was unlucky. He had no background at the beginning. If he had a godfather like Leo, or was a second generation or third generation star, Warner would have agreed. How is it? The audition has reached the third round. Are you sure? Lemon said with a smile. He really didn't interfere with the casting, and he was afraid that the people in Warner would have some bad ideas, but the result was the opposite of what he wanted. A little bit. The main reason is that there are too many people. I didn't expect so many actors to compete after the news was released. After filming Travel to New York, Christian Bale has been exercising his muscles purposefully, as Lyman said. Now, not only has he gained 15 pounds and looks stronger, but he has also been a little prepared when he heard the news of the audition for Batman. This is the male lead of Batman. Although he likes works that are more literary, this role is moving. Unlike when he was young and inexperienced, at this stage of his career as an actor, his career is neither good nor bad, and he understands more clearly what a popular role means. Director Lyman, are you also going to audition tomorrow? Christian Bale suddenly asked. Yes, there will be 3 producers from Warner and director Nolan at that time. Lyman seemed to have guessed his thoughts and said, don't worry, I will support you. Remember to behave better tomorrow and prepare more. There may be a session of audition with Macup. That's where the words stopped. Christian Bale's eyes lit up. He has been in the circle for so many years, and few people treat him so well. It feels like he has met a mentor. Good luck tomorrow. Chapter 364, the third round of auditions. Subscription recommendation request. In Hollywood, if there is no powerful director, then the science of casting becomes more profound. Not only the underground doorways of the unspoken rules, but also whether it fits the role template, the appearance and figure, and even the logic and coordination of the performance, the audience's favor, the salary and value, the popularity and topicality of the actors, and so on are all points that need to be considered. There are many crews that replace actors because of a little scandal. Of course, the basis of all casting is still the image of the role. It is impossible for the role to be played by a black person or a tall person, but the actor is white or does not meet the height standard. A new day, 8 o'clock in the morning, the sun is rising. Los Angeles in June is still very hot. As the chief producer of the crew, Lyman rushed to Firefly Pictures as usual. He has been running around these days, either supervising the props or checking whether the interior scenes are set up. In a blink of an eye, it was 10 o'clock in the morning. At the front desk of Firefly Pictures, an agent walked in with a girl. Prepare in advance and make a good impression. Kate Beckinsale nodded. I know. Suddenly asked, did you help me negotiate the role I auditioned for? CAA is still very powerful, and there are many ways to cast. The agent waved his hand. This time, both parties will confirm and select together. Your role is still the only female lead. Although the role is a little less, it is also easy to stand out. The competition is very fierce. However, have you been through Lyman? It is still best to build a good relationship with him. Look at Eva and Hilary Swank. The former starred several big productions this year, and the latter filmed $1 Million Baby and shined in Cannes. I heard that it is very likely that she will compete for the Oscar for Best Actress again, and her salary is steadily increasing. Kate Beckinsale was silent for a while. He is not very enthusiastic about me. Do you want to take the initiative? The agent said anxiously. He is so busy. How can he have time to care about other things? Kate was silent. The agent didn't know that she took the initiative, but failed. The two of them were silent as they entered Firefly Pictures. The girl at the front desk saw the pair and guessed. Are they here for an audition? Yes, she is here for an audition, and I'm her agent. Oh, the audition is at noon, and it's not open yet. You can go to the reception room and wait. Go upstairs and turn left, and you'll see the sign. Thank you. The two of them got on the elevator and walked out. They happened to see Lyman and director Nolan walking out. He quickly greeted them. Mr. Lyman, Director Nolan. Hello. Lyman smiled and said, it's so early. Have you eaten yet? Yes. Kate Beckinsale was relieved when she saw him. Wait a minute, the staff haven't arrived yet. It's going to start at noon. Lyman was afraid that people would get bored waiting, so he asked his assistant to bring them coffee and some magazines. Director Nolan was busy these days and had not paid attention to the first 2 rounds of auditions. Now, seeing the girl enter the reception room, he whispered, she's quite suitable. Where did you find her? She has the temperament, figure, and looks. Haha, you're praising a lady like that. I'll tell your wife. You're a director with a family. Lyman joked. Did you pick her? You have a good eye. At least she looks good as a prosecutor. I just don't like her photogenic appearance. Then, The two of them ran out for an Italian lunch. When they came back, the other actors who had auditioned had almost arrived. There were old and young, men and women, and most of them were new faces. They were basically the seeded players from various agencies. Now, a staff member was giving instructions inside. It was called instruction, but in fact, he was just handing out a few lines to everyone. In the first 2 rounds of auditions, there were no lines for the roles, and there were not many performance sessions. It was basically to see if the body shape matched the image of the role. This last round was a tryout. A few minutes after 12 noon, several people in charge of Warner also arrived. Everyone was actually quite interested in this kind of large-scale interview. Unfortunately, only 5 people could enter the jury. Oh, and there was also a staff member of the Directors Guild stationed in Hollywood to supervise. In fact, it was just a formality, symbolically protecting the rights of the actors, so that they would know that the membership fees they paid were not completely useless. In the audition room, there was only a row of tables, leaving a large space. In front of each person was a piece of information, which was compiled by the agency, and was very detailed. Next to them, a person from the photography crew was fiddling with the camera, preparing to record the video for archiving. It would be taken back to the senior management of Warner to see. "Director, shall we start?" The person who passed the number shouted at the door. "Let's start." Nolan waved his hand. The first person to come in was Liam Neeson. British actor, born in Northern Ireland in 1952. Height 193 centimeters, weight 87 kilograms. After graduating from university, he studied at the Belfast Opera House for 2 years, then entered the Broadway stage, and began 6 years of professional stage play performance. At the age of 30, he starred in his first big screen work Dark Ages. His first film work as a leading actor was Transfiguration. He was nominated for the Oscar for Best Actor for Schindler's List, and has rich acting experience. The resume is very good. As soon as he showed up, several people were very enthusiastic. This is an old actor with a high status. He is considered a very well-known actor in the industry. There is basically no competition with him. He was directly entered in the 3rd round. Warner specially found him to increase the depth of the actor's performance, just to play with him. There is nothing to ask about the few people. It's just a supporting role. It's definitely more than enough to invite an Oscar big shot to play it. Moreover, if it weren't for the relationship with Warner, he wouldn't be invited. He was directly given the green light. Brush, just go through the motions and it's done. So, in the acting industry, it still depends on qualifications and strength. Some people don't even need to choose a role. They will automatically come to you and just pick the role. Some people, who seek opportunities every day, run around everywhere, and may not even get a minor role. Is it cruel? No, it's not cruel. You choose your own path. You only see the scenery in front of people, but you don't know that there are tens of millions of grassroots actors who are constantly supplying blood. The next one is another veteran actor, Morgan Freeman. This is Lemon who called to invite him. After all, he needs to find a minority to play with him, increase the depth of the cast, and avoid being criticized by some people. Nowadays, the wind direction in Hollywood is changing really fast. The status of black actors has begun to rise visibly. In the future, if there is no black actor with weight in any big production, it will be blackened by the media. The audience also likes to make trouble. Counting 7 or 8 years ago, this situation was nothing. This shows that the crying child really gets the milk. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 365 Audition, Subscription Recommendation. After Morgan Freeman also confirmed the role of Lucius Fox, the only important supporting role left was the butler Alfred. This time, no famous actors came here to accept the favor. In the 3rd round, 3 actors with suitable images auditioned. During the short waiting period, a producer from Warner asked first, "Do you have any satisfactory candidates? They are all suitable." Lemon was the first to express his opinion. He had never thought of competing for this role. Then Nolan came, and he also shook his head. He can be said to be the least involved person here. For him, as long as the actor is suitable, it doesn't matter who to choose. Then let's take a look. The person who just spoke said again. He waved his hand, and the staff immediately brought the recorded casting video. Anthony Hopkins, Dennis Quaid, and Michael Caine. All of them are older and experienced, but they are all veteran actors who have played supporting roles for many years. In the end, it was the producer who spoke first who decided on Michael Caine to play the butler Alfred. As for why, would he say that he had dealt with this actor and had some friendship with him? Well, both of them are British. With this relationship, is it too much to help your fellow countrymen? Of course, the reason given by the producer is that the images of the three are not bad, but Michael Caine has played roles such as butlers and has more role experience. Is it convincing? Yes. Anyway, no one will argue with him. Then, it was time for the audition of the heroine. Several people sat up straight. The staff handed out the information of the female lead audition candidates, which was reduced to only 5. Let's start. Nolan said bluntly. The first one to appear was an Italian actress named Giovanna Massaggino. She has played in The Last Kiss and For Lost Love. Her appearance is not bad, but her figure is good and her breasts are big. As soon as the girl came in, she began to smile, a little flattering. Hi, everyone. My name is Giovanna Massaggino. Although she said so, her eyes frequently glanced at a producer from Warner, who was second to the left of Lyman. It goes without saying whose relationship she used. The man also supported her and said directly, "You have a sweet smile. The audience loves this kind of actress, don't they?" Lemon curled his lips and said, "Maybe she is indeed suitable for development in Hollywood. In some movies, she will have more opportunities to play beautiful roles such as Newlywed Wives." "What are you hinting at?" The man stopped talking. Anyway, he didn't say that he would definitely help her to compete for the role. He had already spoken out to help her, which was enough. Besides, he was actually not optimistic about a TV actress who was doing well in Italy coming to Hollywood to develop. There is never a shortage of beautiful women here, but how many years can a woman guarantee youth? Perhaps it was the success of Monica Bellucci that caused a stir in the Italian entertainment industry. In recent years, many Italian actresses have sought opportunities to enter Hollywood. Giovanna is not the first, and certainly not the last. But you have to know that in all these years, among so many people, there is only one Monica Bellucci. She's not popular, and she's not popular with the audience. If it weren't for her resume, I wouldn't know where she came from. She's really just pretty. She didn't even make it through the first round. Nolan was waiting for the audition news, but she was actually eliminated. The second person to come in was Rachel Weisz. She played in The Mummy, and is a British actress. The latter's nationality made Nolan pay more attention to her. But that's it. The biggest attention this actress has received from the audience may still be her sex scenes and nude scenes. Well, you can read the news that has caused a sensation. Rachel Weisz plays the mummy without a bra. But this is actually an unscrupulous operation by the film crew. They said that this scene would be cut, but in the end, not a single frame was cut. Instead, it was widely used as a hotspot for publicity, which made this girl very embarrassed. However, she is actually an actress who dares to take off her clothes and expose herself, as long as you tell her clearly before shooting. Only if she agrees. Rachel Weisz is 34 years old and still very attractive. If she is not beautiful, she can't enter the third round. She also had an ambiguous scandal with Keanu Reeves. I don't know if it's true or not. She passed the first level, being popular and pretty. Nolan said, "You got the audition script, right?" "Yes, director." "Then let's get started. I'll give you a minute to prepare and try this scene." "Okay." She immediately took off her coat, revealing a white shirt underneath. Her thin but attractive figure was fully exposed. She posed, and after a minute, she slowly walked forward a few steps, imitating that there was someone in front of her, reciting the script she had memorized to the air. Overall, she looked like a prosecutor, and her performance was not bad. At least she was not stage frightened, and was very calm. A producer said, "I think it's very good." Lemon pretended not to hear it, wanting to see what Nolan said. Everyone present was thinking about it, but Nolan was the only one who judged from a very fair standpoint. It's all good. Let's look at the others first. He knew that Lyman also supported an actor. In other words, he didn't care much about these little thoughts. Everyone had personal connections. If he admired an actor very much, he would be willing to help him if he could. No one is fair and impartial, not even God. Of course, the premise of everything is to be suitable. Only when it is suitable can there be room for selection. Hi, everyone. My name is Paz Vega. A beautiful woman with a Latin face appeared in front of the camera. Speaking of which, this one also had a similar opening situation as Eva. As soon as she debuted, she became an international celebrity with Lucia's Lover. In Spain, she even won the Best New Actress in the Elegant Film Awards. It can be said that this is another typical example of becoming famous by stripping. It seems that some literary and artistic directors always like to trick newcomers into starring in their works. Giuseppe Tornatore, Giulio Mitton, Bernardo Bertolucci's films can always discover new movie stars. Is it a common hobby? Discovering the beauty of the screen is just like men's love for sexy big-breasted girls and persuading misguided women to change their ways. By the way, Bernardo Bertolucci, the great director of literature and art, somehow fooled Melanie Laurent into playing a role in Eva Green's The Dreamers. She also became famous by taking off her clothes. But her situation was worse than Eva's. She didn't make it into Hollywood. Or rather, the threshold of Hollywood is too high, and outsiders have to pay much more to enter. Unsurprisingly, Paz Vega was not selected. Her performance was still too raw, even worse than Rachel Weisz, let alone others. Chapter 366. If you want to do something, you will always be motivated. Please subscribe and recommend. Another Amy Rossum. The door of the audition room was pushed open, and another beautiful young girl walked in. She was about 1.76 meters tall, with a high nose bridge, and she performed well in the subsequent lines. What do you think? Compared to her, I personally think Rachel Weisz is more suitable for the female lead, the second Warner producer said with emotion. He has not forgotten to canvass for votes. You must know that the audition results will be notified to Warner executives, which means that the casting candidates must first be approved by most of the audition officers. You admire Weisz. The third producer joked, I can hear it from your tone. She is very suitable, isn't she? The second producer looked at Nolan and Lyman, a girl from London, England, who has been learning dance since she was a child. The success of Stealing Beauty and The Mummy has also proved her. The third producer smiled and acquiesced, but the first producer who spoke out to help the Italian actress at the beginning was still silent. The situation does not look clear. Don't worry, let's continue to watch. If there is no better choice, we will talk about it. Nolan waved his hand again to signal the staff to let the next auditioner in. Hello everyone, I'm Kate Beckinsale from the UK. The English Rose finally appeared. She is very tall, and her temperament is classical and cold. She is very close to the character of Rachel Dawes, a civil servant in the play. After taking off her coat, she only had a thin shirt inside. She has a graceful figure. Let's have a line, Lemon said routinely. Okay. She crossed her arms and looked forward. Her momentum stood up immediately, especially her fast pace, but she didn't give people a sense of rushing. It was like a normal office state. Needless to say, the lines are just two simple sentences, as long as you have a qualified recitation skill. Just as Lemon was about to praise and solicit votes, the producer number one sitting next to him spoke up. This girl's temperament is the most suitable for the female lead. He said, the supporting actress in Bad Guys also performed in a similar way, right, Mr. Lemon? Yes. Lemon nodded. It's okay to say that she played herself. The two of them sang the same tune, making Lemon think that he didn't need to help. It seems that Warner is not of the same mind. Yes, selfishness is something that cannot be stopped. After the insider was found, the second producer said anxiously, Van Helsing failed. There is a lot of negative public opinion about her. She is at the center of controversy. Some media have called her box office poison. If we choose her, it may cause unnecessary trouble to the filming. We are insiders. Do we still believe the words of those outsiders? Why did Van Helsing fail? Lemon asked himself and answered, First, the content is confusing. Universal wants to put all its classic screen images that have been successful in the past, such as werewolves, Frankenstein, and vampires. The film has been out of the director's control since the project was established. Second, the subject matter is not appealing. The medieval story does not have a strong sense of time. It is normal that the audience does not like it. Also, it failed because of her. Her value has also been greatly reduced. For us, we can get the most suitable actor with the least money, further expand the filming funds, and use them in more useful places. Isn't it good? The second producer shook his head. I still don't think she is very optimistic. Lemon touched the corner of his mouth and suggested, vote for Kate Beckinsale, who is suitable for this role. Producer number 1 nodded. Nolan also nodded, and with his own words, it was 3 votes to 2. No, it was 4 votes to 1, and producer number 3 also joined the majority camp. Very wise. No one spoke anymore, and after the atmosphere became a little stiff, Nolan said, take a break first. The next part will be auditioning with costumes. The others are all imaginary, and they are all supporting roles. The only important role in Batman, or the focus of most audiences, is always Bruce Wayne. Auditions are also more complicated. Not only do you need to try on Batman's battlesuit to see the effect of the costume, but you also have to test your lines and a short performance. Lemon followed Nolan out. The future is still very troublesome. He laughed. Co-producer? Many people's opinions need to be taken into consideration. Nolan rubbed his brows. It's good that we can still respect each other. I'm the investor and producer, and you're the director. Logically speaking, shouldn't we have the greatest say in the crew? Lemon looked outside. Is there still no copyright issue? Or maybe our strength is not enough to attract more attention from Warner? Isn't it enough attention? At least everyone wants to make achievements instead of playing badly. Come on. Lemon sighed. These executive producers and filming staff arranged by Warner, as well as the many actors selected by agencies such as CAA. How to coordinate the relationship between the crew is still a troublesome thing. You should know that in such a crew, where power is not unified, and the upper and lower limits of career are very high, there are often 2 completely different working conditions. If the prospects are promising, everyone will be happy to help, and all kinds of problems can be discussed and solved, because they know that, if the movie is successful, they will also be the beneficiaries, and their own status and reputation in the industry will increase significantly. There are some disputes, but they are also efforts made to not be willing to fail. At least, people with different opinions still think that the film project has good prospects, and do not want to fail. In the crew, that seems destined to fail. No one will try to do good for the movie, except you as the director. They will not offend your authority, and will go along with you in everything, then take the remuneration, plunder a little bit of the crew's money, and leave after the filming of the movie is finished. Maybe after the box office fails, they will accuse you in the media and frantically distance themselves from you, for fear of having any contact with the loser with a bleak career. Look at Stephen Sommers. At the beginning, 2 consecutive Mummy movies were both successful, with a cumulative global box office of nearly 850 million. He was so glorious at that time, and the top management of Universal also hosted banquets for him many times. Now, the media doesn't like him, saying that he ruined Van Helsing. As for Universal, the 2 sides almost went to court, not to mention the crew. Most of them pushed the responsibility onto him, and then buried their heads in the ground, pretending to be ostriches. This is a very realistic circle. Nolan, whether he succeeds or fails, as a director, he should not lose himself. Lemon said earnestly. Chapter 367 Gossip. Subscription recommendation. He spoke from his heart. He had been in charge of so many crews, and heard many complaints from directors in the industry during filming. This is his own, insight into the hearts of the crew. It's like a big ship sailing on the sea. If it can still reach its destination, even if there are so many disagreements, the ship can still move. If it can't reach its destination, or even has the possibility of sinking on the way, the first person to escape will definitely not be the director. After saying goodbye to Nolan, Lemon went to the bathroom. When he came out, he saw Blake Cole waiting outside. Knowing that he had something to say, the 2 of them chatted along the corridor. They talked about the company's affairs for a while and the crew's preparations for a while. After the casting is completed and I attend the launch conference held by Warner, I will join the crew. Lyman emphasized, my own crew. At that time, you will be responsible for keeping an eye on the progress of the shooting. If anything happens, call me. If there is a small conflict, give priority to Nolan's opinion. I understand, but Warner's side. Blake Cole hesitated. Don't worry. Our company has grown to the point where we have the capital to be willful and can afford losses. Besides, the movie still has a great chance of success. Warner's producers are also very professional, at least they won't mess around. In any case, everyone's goal is the same. Even if we are not on the same page, there is still room for discussion. Anyway, you should respect the collective decision of the crew. If there is something that Nolan can't communicate with, just find me. I'll find a way. Lyman added at last. It feels terrible to not be able to control everything. Blake Cole smiled bitterly. That's Nolan's headache. What are you worried about? Lyman looked at the towering buildings in the distance. He is more experienced and more capable than you think. Maybe. Blake Cole nodded. I will help you keep an eye on the crew. Mr. Lemon. A girl's voice came from behind the two of them. Lyman turned around and saw English Rose, who had just finished the audition for the female lead, walking towards him, followed by her agent. Thank you. It's you who gave me this opportunity. After she said a polite word to Blake Cole, she completely ignored his existence. She only looked at Lyman. Don't say such ambiguous words, Kate. It's your own strength. Lyman looked at Blake Cole's eyes that couldn't be concealed and quickly explained. It's still possible to explain it now, but if even you, I wouldn't know what to say. Pure admiration? A man's admiration for a woman. That can't be explained clearly. I know. Thank you so much. Since they met, this girl has been unlucky. Especially during this period, she was under a lot of pressure. Some people even advised her to go back to where she came from, saying that Hollywood was not suitable for her. She had been holding back for too long, and her emotions were a little bit uncontrollable. At this moment, from the moment she got the audition results and was notified of the contract, she no longer planned to control it. She choked up a little. Those people are blaming me and scolding me. What did I do wrong? Is failure my fault alone? But she is a relatively strong woman. She knows that she is losing her composure like this and quickly controls her emotions. You always give me opportunities. Thank you so much. Such sincere gratitude makes Lemon feel like he has done something extraordinary, but he really just does it for the sake of convenience. If Kate Beckinsale's conditions are not good enough, he will never give her the opportunity to audition. For example, Eva, Lemon will only let her play the role that suits her. He doesn't like to be deliberate. Even if he is willing to support her in his heart, he will not let her challenge the role beyond her limit when her acting foundation is not fully mature. For example, Million Dollar Baby is a typical work that supports the heroine. It can even be said that it is a rare role in Hollywood where the heroine has the largest proportion of scenes. It is the most likely to make the actress famous, not to mention the honorary awards she won in her previous life. But if it is not suitable, it is not suitable. Forcing it will only make the movie flawed. This is not what a director should do. Okay, that's not necessary. Instead of thanking me, you should thank your parents for giving birth to you beautifully. You have a good foundation and are very suitable for this kind of role. I don't have the energy to make it as complicated as you said. Kate, although there are a lot of outstanding girls in Hollywood, you have to believe in your own uniqueness. Be more confident. I'm sorry, Mr. Lemon. Kate just got the news that she passed the audition, and her emotions may be a little unstable. The agent also caught up and apologized. Let's go, Kate. Don't disturb her work. Anyway, thank you very much. The girl was still so stubborn. Lemon winked at Blake Cole and turned to leave with him. By the way, Mr. Agent. When passing by Kate's agent, Lemon reminded, negotiate the performance contract as soon as possible. Perhaps next week, Warner will hold a press conference for the start of filming. At that time, we may let the actors wear costumes to participate in interviews and build momentum in advance. Before that, we need to remeasure Miss Kate's measurements, height, etc., and customize the clothes. We will. Mr. Lemon, Johnson and I are colleagues. We have met before. In CAA, Johnson's status has long been rising along with Lemon's value. It can be seen with the naked eye that the ceiling of this industry can be touched, that is, the senior partner of CAA. However, this last step is always particularly difficult. I have an impression Lemon had long forgotten the name of Kate's agent. He said a few perfunctory words and left with Blake Cole. Do you need to take care of her more on the crew? Blake Cole looked back and asked tentatively, some personal treatment? No. She is a professional actor and has no background. There are not so many rules. Living with Eve made him feel extremely relaxed. He is now calm. Besides, there are so many beautiful girls in Hollywood. How can he keep up with them all? The human body has its limits, and dealing with an Eva would squeeze out all his free time. There really is not a drop left. For the sake of his own life and property, he even deliberately avoided direct contact with some beautiful girls. The two returned to the audition room, and before entering, he took a look at Christian Bale. Are you ready? Well, I've been thinking about this role, and I've been reading related comics. Christian Bale still has some confidence. That's good. Come on, there's only one last hurdle left. Chapter 368, Eye to Eye. Please subscribe and recommend. It is very subtle for a director to like an actor. If they are a man and woman of marriageable age, maybe they can even tell a love story that can be talked about for 3 days and 3 nights. Unfortunately, Christian Bale is a man. Then there is only a simple fit. Perhaps Nolan has already had a preliminary, self-defined image of Bruce Wayne in his mind, and coincidentally, he met an actor who fits the bill. In this play, the most important thing is the male lead. In this way, the situation of adding sand is not so serious. In other words, the weight of the role is so heavy that the people of Warner dare not accept favors and push a certain actor into the final audition. They are very measured and cautious. They also know that ordinary supporting roles are given, and when the conditions are similar, or when there is no difference in the choice, it is okay to use the power of casting to exchange for some benefits. Warner is very powerful, but it does not mean that these people need Warner very much. If they were, they would not enter the crew throughout the whole process and work hard. Because they know their position very well, they have many concerns about casting Batman. Therefore, those who can keep a place in a company of Warner's size are all smart. So they pushed an Irish film and television actor named Cillian Murphy for the Scarecrow, but ignored the casting of Bruce Wayne, and acted as if they were doing business. Christian Bale ranked second in this audition, competing with Ashton Kutcher, David Boreanaz and Hugh Dancy. The former is the male lead of The Butterfly Effect and the most popular actor voted by American teenagers this year, similar to the kind of college film festival. He is tall and has a tough face. He is a traditional American handsome guy. David is also an American film and television actor. His achievements in TV series are stronger than those in movies. The only reason he can participate in the audition is that he is also handsome. Bruce Wayne must be charming, and this is as it should be. In addition to temperament, the face is definitely the first impression of the audience. The last Hugh Dancy is also handsome, but in fact, each of them has his own characteristics. It is difficult to choose a more attractive person from a group of handsome people. However, there were not many twists and turns during the audition. When Christian Bale changed his costume and walked into the audition room, Nolan chose him at first sight. In terms of handsomeness, he is definitely inferior to the others. At least Ashton Kutcher's appearance is really good. But in terms of temperament that matches the role, the others have to lag behind a little. They are all younger brothers. But Nolan still watched all the performances of the 4 people silently, and then he recommended Christian Bale to play Batman at the first time. At this time, who has the right idea became the highlight. Lemon naturally supported Nolan's choice. Although the other 3 were a little hesitant, they promised to put Christian Bale's name first when submitting the audition results and videos to Warner executives to show their choice tendency. After all, they will have to work together for several months in the future, so there is no need to make the relationship too stiff. Small thoughts are small thoughts, but in the face of the overall trend, they can still distinguish the importance of things. For a while, everyone reached a certain tacit understanding Then, the Warner producer submitted the audition results. Then, Warner's senior management will find that the crew's casting is still very particular, reasonable and convincing. Sure enough, those senior management respected the casting results of the audition and notified them to sign a performance contract with the actors as soon as possible. At this point, everyone in the crew has gained something. Lyman and Nolan won the 2 most important roles in the play. The 3 producers got the most supporting roles, which were almost more than the extras, and the roles that could show their faces were donated by them as a favor. Warner also got a perfect lineup of performances with old actors, popular actors driving fans, and traffic and acting skills. It can be said that everyone is happy. As for signing, no actor will give up the opportunity to star in a first-line blockbuster or the popular theme Batman. In this passive state of mind, although there were twists and turns in the negotiations on salary, they were quickly agreed upon, and the continuous collective contract was also signed. Warner would never leave anyone the opportunity to raise the price. In other words, if the movie is successful, salary increase is okay, but it cannot be excessive, and it must be within a certain range. Capitalists, prepare for a rainy day. And in the minds of many people, it is inevitable that they want to replicate the big market release of Spider-Man. They are all superhero movies, and Batman's audience is not much less than Spider-Man. As for the failed replication of the Hulk, it was subconsciously ignored. President Lyman, look. Blake Cole took the detailed contract signed by Christian Bale and handed it to him. The two were quite familiar with each other, and he nodded slightly after carefully reading the performance contract. It was roughly the same as he expected. Christian Bale is not short of qualifications and has been tempered in the independent niche art film circle for a long time. When he started New York Trip, his salary was about $3 million plus a part of the box office incentive share. As for now, his salary has risen to $7 million, and if the North American box office exceeds $300 million, he will automatically receive a box office bonus of $2 million. If it exceeds $400 million, he can get about $3.5 million. The maximum is $500 million. The reason why he can get so much is naturally because he has signed 3 film contracts. Otherwise, he can only get $5 million at best. But because he has signed 3 consecutive film contracts, there is not much room for growth for each contract. Fortunately, his agent insisted on getting a little more on the basic salary. This is normal. The salary growth rate of sequels is the fastest among all types of movies. It cannot be divided according to general market calculation rules. For example, in Pirates of the Caribbean, Captain Nep's salary is high. If you put other movies, he can't even touch it. Here, it involves a demand issue. After all, sequels rarely change the starring lineup, and the investors dare not bear the loss of audience in the film market that has been hard to win due to the change of actors. In this way, the actors are also fearless. Why not take advantage of this time to get more salary? When should they get it? From their respective standpoints, isn't it all for profit? In this case, it all depends on the means. Warner still has a lot to consider. Chapter 369 Macuke Photo. Please subscribe and recommend. A very gentle and thin young man walked in from Firefly Pictures and obediently let the stylist toss him around. Hi, hello, Mr. Bale, I'm Cillian Murphy, and I'm playing opposite you in the movie. The young man's hair was being pulled, and when he saw Christian Bale walk into the fitting room, he quickly smiled and greeted him. Hello. Bale replied with a polite word and slipped into a separate fitting room. He was the leading actor, and he deserved this treatment. There were many compartments in the huge room, and experienced actors could get individual services. As for Murphy, he was still far from it. The young man suppressed his envy, and while he was taking care of his styling, he was polite to every actor who came in, whether he knew him or not, and it was good to leave a little impression. He cherished this opportunity very much. A young actor who had just debuted like him still had to work hard to beg the agency, and only at a little cost did he get a supporting role with a chance to show his face. And he also had a role opposite Batman. If he didn't succeed this time, it might be difficult for him to get the care of the agency in the future. Resources and opportunities are limited, especially for newcomers. If they fail to gain some fame at once, they will lose the opportunity to be cultivated later. Alas. After finishing the work, Murphy looked at the staff who were busy everywhere, and then looked at his new look, and his mood became better again. Such a large crew, such a good project, should not fail. It must be right for me to fight for the opportunity this time. After comforting himself, Murphy was taken to another room to take the final makeout photo. "Mr. Lemon, is this okay?" As the well-deserved protagonist, Christian Bale was already shooting there. "Okay." He looked at the costume designer who asked Bale to wear a Langines watch and stand there dressed like a rich kid, which was very consistent with the image of the male protagonist Bruce Wayne in the script, so he nodded in agreement. According to the setting, his father is very rich, a rich second generation. The clothes must be luxurious and low-key, in line with the family income and worth as well as the character's personality. In addition to meeting these role requirements, he also took on some sponsorship endorsements, such as the Dyer custom suit, the Langines watch and the brand name leather shoes. Firefly Pictures is very professional in the account management of this film. This kind of soft advertising is not obtrusive and can get a good sponsorship fee. Why not do it? In addition to these, the car used for the trip was sponsored by Mercedes-Benz, the Tiffany necklace on Rachel's neck, and the brand of champagne at the dinner. Most advertisers are very optimistic about this movie. If Lemon had not paid attention to the filming of the movie and accepted sponsorship crazily, it is estimated that the filming costs could be recovered by selling the advertisements. These luxury brands are very rich and not stingy, but they do need to be controlled. It's a pity. After a while, Bale finished taking the makeout photos. When he changed his clothes, Lemon came over and said, "The day after tomorrow is the launch conference. You should wear this suit then." Yes. In the crew of Escape from the Island, Michael Bay was loudly scolding the filming staff. As long as the filming did not go smoothly, he would easily lose his temper, and Steven Spielberg stood aside and watched from a distance. In recent years, DreamWorks has stagnated from its rapid development at the beginning and is still going downhill. He and the other two partners no longer have the friendship they used to have. The music department is in name only, and David Geffen thinks about how to leave every day. The animation department is still prosperous, and the Shrek the Monsters series has set a new record, but this year it was completely spun off and established as DreamWorks Animation. Jeffrey Katzenberg did not want to care about the mess of the parent company. It is indeed a mess. DreamWorks film business is already a mess. A large number of investors and shareholders also chose to withdraw their investment from DreamWorks Pictures. The company was in chaos and surrounded by powerful external enemies. Everyone wanted to split up and acquire his hard work. He didn't want to give up so quickly, but Jeffrey left with the animation department, and Spielberg could only rely on his own film production department. He even burned his boats and found outside investors for other people's projects. The total investment budget of Escape from the Island exceeded $120 million. With the current situation of DreamWorks, it is really unaffordable to lose money, so Spielberg came to the crew every once in a while to check it out. The total box office of the Bad Boys series, The Rock, Taken, and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre in North America exceeded $1 billion, and the media praised the director with the most acute business sense. Bombshell. As the director, the actress Scarlett Johansson, who recently won a great box office and reputation with Lost in Translation, is the heroine, and with Ewan McGregor, this cast is very strong. Especially the male lead, British actor Ewan McGregor is another influential figure in the Hollywood film industry. When he was young, Trainspotting became an international hit and won him the Best Actor award at the British Academy Awards. In 2001, he starred in Moulin Rouge with Oscar-winning actress Nicole Kidman and was nominated for the Best Actor award at the Golden Globe Awards. In addition to professional awards, he also played a role in the box office market. He played the role of Obi-Wan in Star Wars, Episode I, The Phantom Menace, and was well received by the audience. He has good acting skills and a good image. He is also very popular with the audience, and is very popular. He was invited to come, but he spent $7 million in salary plus a step-by-step box office incentive. Scarlett Johansson was also very popular, so he spent $3 million and a part of the box office reward mechanism. Not to mention the initiator of the project, Michael Bay, who directly used 10% of the global box office dividends and channel dividends to attract him. It was also because Michael Bay had a very deep friendship with the gold medal producer Jerry Bruckheimer. Jerry found the project for his debut and gave Michael Bay the opportunity to direct. It is not an exaggeration to say that he is a mentor. DreamWorks poaching directly led to the falling out between Michael Bay and Jerry Bruckheimer. The subsequent situation is well known. Without Jerry's supervision, Michael Bay enjoyed the freedom of filming. As a result, the plot of Escape from the Island was long-winded, and it completely lacked the exciting rhythm that had made Bay famous before, resulting in very unsatisfactory box office. In other words, Michael Bay did not play with cliches, and began to play with deep transformation, which directly died suddenly. It's a pity that Spielberg didn't know this. He was still fantasizing that DreamWorks could regain its momentum with this masterpiece and save its declining trend. He even accepted Warner's invitation to attend the launch conference of Batman and discuss the project's cooperative distribution with Warner executives in advance. Chapter 370 Press Conference, Subscription Recommendation. The reboot of Batman has attracted the attention of many Hollywood media. It can be said that this is the most talked about film project so far this year. It is very attractive to the inner circle of the entire Hollywood, not to mention that many media need this traffic heat. The entrance of the Waldorf Astoria Hotel, not far from the Warner Film Building, began to be decorated early. This is no longer a simple launch conference, but a performance show envisioned by Warner. So, when Spielberg and his assistant rushed to the Waldorf Astoria Hotel, what they saw was a red carpet at the door, and the aisles on both sides were surrounded by media reporters. Well, it was a big battle. As soon as Steven Spielberg got out of the car, several reporters rushed up to interview him and asked, "Mr. Steven, I heard that DreamWorks is also preparing a new film." This was a good question, and Spielberg was also happy to say a few words about his own film. Yes, everyone can look forward to it. Escape from the Island, which is invested by DreamWorks and directed by Michael Bay, is currently being filmed. There will be plans to release it in the future. After answering, he praised Batman a little, and then Spielberg walked through the red carpet and entered the hotel. After a while, someone else arrived by car. It was Barry Meir from Warner Brothers. This made the reporters even more excited, and they surrounded him. "Mr. Barry Meir, why does Warner have plans to reboot Batman? Why did they ask director Nolan to direct? For such a big project, don't you consider a more stable and experienced director to take over?" A flood of questions came out, forcing Barry Meir to stop. He waved his hand and replied with a smile, "Warner's production volume has been increasing in recent years. As for launching Batman, it is because we have done market research, and it is indeed necessary to launch it. In the future, our scheduled shooting plan is already preparing for the sequel." As soon as this was said, the reporters exclaimed in a low voice, "Now that the film has just been approved, there are already plans for a sequel. Doesn't it show that Warner is very confident?" Barry Meir smiled and said, "In addition, choosing director Nolan to direct, strictly speaking, is not Warner's initiative to invite him, but director Nolan has been very helpful in the reboot of Batman, and his shooting concept has also convinced us very well. He is very good, and we believe in him." Speaking of which, Warner is very courageous to support new directors, and they are in a winning position. Among the 6 major companies, Paramount has taken a good ride because it saw the potential of Lyman, and its decline is slower than in the previous time and space, but it still cannot cover up the fact that their own production capabilities are declining year by year. In the absence of a way to develop a box office hit, blindly shooting first-tier projects can only lead to both the production company and the distribution company losing money and wasting costs. Therefore, Paramount, which used to be able to bring out directors, has lost its original position. The number of films produced in the first half of this year was only 13, and the number of films distributed by other film companies was more than that produced by the company itself. It is definitely not normal to rely on distribution channels to maintain income and expenditure. Universal and Columbia are always in the lower middle position. Occasionally, they can have a big hit, but in general, their production capabilities are just so-so. They are in a state of wretched development that is improving, but the effect is not obvious. In recent years, it is difficult for Universal to have good results in other films except comedy. Columbia, except for Spider-Man, is not very good. As the saying goes, when in doubt, release Spider, which may be Columbia's trick. Disney's animation industry is awesome, but live action movies are still a little bit better. As for 20th Century Fox, it can always create miracles, but it is also always risking its life. If you are not careful, you may be at the bottom. It is the kind of life-threatening type, and you will die if you don't succeed. In total, only Warner has been stable for many years and has a high winning rate. This is a solid foundation, with momentum, and of course more courage. So looking at the surprised expressions of the reporters, Barry Mayer felt a little proud. Warner's performance, which has been rising year by year, is part of his hard work. It will not only greatly enhance his prestige and status in the company, but also attract more investors and funds from Wall Street investment banks. He can use their money to develop movies and earn profits in the most stable way. Barry Mayer walked across the red carpet happily, waving and smiling at the reporters on both sides from time to time. A luxury RV slowly drove up from behind. This RV was specially rented by the crew to pick up and drop off the actors. The door opened. Christian Bale and Kate Beckinsale got out first, followed by Cillian Murphy and Liam Neeson. The actors are here, the reporters shouted, and ran up again. For them, the combination of handsome men and beautiful women is more worth taking pictures than the behind-the-scenes workers. Then 2 more cars arrived. Lemon, Nolan, Jonathan, the remaining veteran actors, and several Warner production managers also arrived. Mr. Lemon, are these all members of the Batman crew? The reporters asked. Lemon nodded and introduced. This is director Nolan. These are responsible for production and behind-the-scenes management. You all know the remaining few, and they are also actors in Batman. There were rumors flying around about the auditions for the roles of Batman. One moment someone was invited to act, and the next someone had signed a contract. But most of them were fake news that Warner took the initiative to release in order to hype up the auditions of the actors and leave a sense of mystery. It can be said that until this moment, these reporters really knew who the actors of each role were. Who is the heroine? Miss Kate, can you tell us about your role in the play? Mr. Bell, do you have anything to say about the role of Batman you received? Liam Neeson, what was the reason for you to join the crew? When will the new Batman be released? The reporters became excited and asked all kinds of questions. In terms of the popularity of comic characters, DC's Ace, Bruce Wayne, is still very popular. Perhaps it is because this character has disappeared from the big screen for a long time, and everyone is a little nostalgic. From 1995 to 2004, there was a new batch of comic audiences. The previous batch has also entered society and started families, but they always have a great fondness for the memories of their youth. The so-called sentimental direction is probably like this. Or maybe it is because the preparation process of Batman has always been very low-key, and it is no wonder that these reporters are so clingy with such a high-profile appearance. The publicity effect that Warner wanted was perfectly achieved. Chapter 371. Eager attention. Subscription recommendation. Kate Beckinsale wears short hair. New Batman heroine debuts. The Los Angeles Daily was thrown on the table, and the entertainment headline was Kate Beckinsale's new look for the role. Not only did she cut her beautiful long hair, but she also curled it slightly at the end. The report below began to praise Warner's behavior in rebooting Batman. What a budget of hundreds of millions, real scenes, real life restoration, etc. The general meaning can be classified as, we made this film to repay the fans and bring Batman to the big screen again. It's a very routine publicity operation. In another San Francisco Times, the content of the report is not much different, but the focus is on director Nolan. The title is taken as, Nolan, a director with a strong narrative style. This article is full of positive content about media people accepting fees. At the beginning, it first introduces Christopher Nolan's personal background, such as his British nationality, graduating from a certain college, who his parents are, and what his family situation is like. Then he began to list the works Nolan had shot since he entered the directing industry. Finally, he calculated the shooting cost and box office total of each movie and came to a conclusion. The movies produced by director Nolan have never lost money, and the return rate is very considerable. This also indirectly proves that Warner Brothers chose him as the director of the Batman project for a reason. His record is really impressive. He is a talented director. At the end, he changed the subject and said that the funds for the Batman project were sufficient. He slightly suspected that Nolan seemed to have never shot a first-line project with such a large shooting budget. He slightly questioned his directing experience and buried the ground for the possible failure in the future. Entertainment newspapers can't expect them to be particularly fair and maintain their judgment. If this is too exaggerated and slapped in the face, shouldn't there be a way out? Think about it. If the movie is successful, it means that the hype is right. If the movie fails, it can also be attributed to Nolan's lack of experience in blockbuster movies. How perfect. Therefore, in this article in the San Francisco Times, director Nolan is a very enterprising, talented, thrifty, and future director who has not failed. Why is it said to be enterprising? Taking the risk of taking on the Batman reboot plan, cleaning up the historical problems left by Joel Schumacher, gambled his career to take on the Batman who already had a screen image, and rejuvenated Bruce Wayne. Aren't these enough to prove his courage and enterprising spirit? You know, the last failed director Joel Schumacher has completely disappeared from Hollywood's vision. Until now, there are still DC fans who criticize him. As for Christian Bale, who plays Bruce Wayne, and another successful French director Lyman, who is the general producer of the new project, it is also a hot topic that many newspapers are competing to report. In the final analysis, since Warner's launch conference yesterday, the biggest traffic topic in Hollywood has been the Batman reboot plan. Warner's hype has also begun to pay off. However, the time to exert force has not yet arrived. It is just a warm-up. When the film is completed, there will be more publicity methods. Knock, knock, knock. In the president's office of Firefly Pictures, Lyman was sitting in the boss chair holding a newspaper. When he heard the knock on the door, he looked up and said, "Come in." It was the head of the administrative department, Benjamin Joseph, who brought him a few financial reports to sign. Lyman checked it briefly and asked, "Has the filming funds been deposited into the account?" "Well, the second batch of 30 million has been deposited. About half of the filming is done, and the remaining 50 million will also be transferred to the Batman crew." Joseph answered casually, "You should pay more attention to this aspect, and don't let anything go wrong." Lyman gave some instructions, and handed the signed report to Joseph. At around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Lyman finished dealing with some matters at hand and thought about going to the studio of Warner Studios to take a look. After renting the place, in addition to setting up the scenery, he has been preparing filming props. After waiting for the company's elevator for a while, when the elevator door opened, Lyman found that the gyro was also inside. He walked in and asked with a smile, "What are you busy with recently?" Gyro looked up and smiled at Lyman. "Hellboy. Lionsgate has confirmed that it will be released on July 3rd. I will take the crew to promote it." Lyman nodded thoughtfully. To be honest, he is getting more and more famous now, and he has more and more money in his hands. He no longer has so much energy to control the overall situation. For example, for Gyro's movie, except for asking about it during the shooting and post-production, he hardly paid any special attention to it. He thought for a while and said, "I will ask Joseph to cooperate with you. We can still provide some media resources." Gyro was a little happy. "Thank you." The Mexican director didn't care about Lyman's ignorance at all. For him, Firefly Pictures can provide such good production conditions and doesn't like to interfere with his creation. It is simply the best filmed company in Hollywood. Even if it doesn't have the status of the Hollywood Big Six or DreamWorks, it is the most pleasing to him. Lyman chuckled. "You're welcome. We are partners, aren't we? You've always been busy with the film, and I feel a little bad about it." No, I just like it this way." Gyro thought that in addition to investing in his studio, Lyman wanted to further intervene in his film, and quickly said, "Lionsgate is also helping. It's okay." Lyman was speechless. He didn't need his excessive concern. Gyro, he is really a director with personality. He could only sigh like this. The two went downstairs and went to the parking lot. Lemon started the car and drove away. Instead, Gyro appreciated Lemon even more. With his dedication to movies, if he encountered a film company that liked to interfere, he might have to run back to Mexico. Although no one interfered in his hometown, the film industry was not developed. Otherwise, he would not come to Hollywood. When Lemon drove to the Warner studio, he could actually see some paparazzi squatting near the door. Seeing him getting out of the car, they wanted to stop him, but fortunately the security team on the set was powerful and the paparazzi couldn't get in at all. I guess these people came here because Batman is so popular. Nolan and a group of filmmakers were discussing the filming inside. After Lemon came, he greeted him and also visited the preparation progress everywhere. It can be seen that the interior is almost completed and the Batmobile has been designed to the second version. It is just a little short of being put into use. Now all aspects are proceeding steadily, and with Blake Cole watching over it, Lemon is also preparing to shoot his own movie. It is said that the filming will be planned in mid-June, but counting the days, it has been delayed for more than a week. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 372 Daydreamer starts filming. Please subscribe and recommend. June 24th, Paris International Airport. France is experiencing the hottest day of the year. Lemon, wearing a short shirt, stood outside the exit, looking at Thomas next to him, speechless. It's just to pick someone up, why make such a big fuss? At this moment, in the exit passage of the airport, Thomas led 7 or 8 crew members to line up in a row. Because there were many people coming in and out, they even held up a sign with Jim Carrey's name on it. Oh, so embarrassing. Can you change your formation? Don't line up, just stand together. Why make it so conspicuous? What if people can't see it? Besides, I don't want to do this. It's tiring to hold it up. Thomas said confidently. Speaking of which, Lemon didn't start filming immediately after flying from Los Angeles to Paris. Because the preparations for filming had not been completed, although the specific filming locations, filming equipment, props, and costumes had been settled long ago, it still took some time to reassemble the filming team. Filming is a technical job, and it is also a team collaboration. In addition, Jane Reno is a guest actor in this film. Although his role is small, it is indispensable. Because he has some personal matters to deal with, he will have to wait for a while before coming. Fortunately, Jim Carrey will simply wait for a while to join the crew. Anyway, the crew has some troubles to do in advance. Even if he comes, the real shooting will not start so soon. Until today, it is the day of reunion. After waiting for a while at the airport, Jim Carrey and his assistant were successfully picked up. Someone also drove several cars parked outside. Get in the car. Lemon waved his hand. A dozen men, plus Jim Carrey with a squinting smile, can form a boy band or something. Because there is no girl, the car drove to the studio of Europa Films, and everyone got off the car, causing a commotion. Finally, the gathering was completed and everyone came. In the studio, Ryan brought Jane Reno, Hilary Swank and the remaining supporting actors who came in advance. Come on, let me introduce you. Lemon greeted enthusiastically. This guy, you must have seen his movies. Lemon pulled Jane Reno over. Jim Carrey smiled and shook hands. Mr. Jane Reno, nice to meet you. The original Lyman, The Professional was a big hit internationally, and Hollywood was no exception. Hello, it's a pleasure to work with you. Jane Reno said politely. This is Miss Hilary Swank. Hello, it's our first meeting. It's a pleasure to work with you. It's a pleasure to work with you. Hilary Swank was also very enthusiastic, looking at her curiously. She had only heard of Jim Carrey, a first-line movie star and a comedy star, and now she had officially met him. Then she met Shirley MacLaine, Adrian Martinez, Alan Bowen and other actors who didn't have many roles. The two biggest stars in the crew had good tempers and high emotional intelligence. Or in other words, those who could get to their positions knew their limits. As for actors, those who can reach the top of the circle must have a professional attitude and strong business ability. Maybe they are a little arrogant and have a little temper, but it's not a big problem. There may be another kind, with connections and backgrounds, average level but good popularity, and the film producers also like to use them. Otherwise, even if there is a sponsor, if the personality is too bad and always makes trouble, it is estimated that it will not be popular, let alone enter the ranks of the first line. When the group arrived in Paris, they took a break and were about to set off for the filming location. The first batch of publicity resources for Hellboy had already begun to be released. Lionsgate is still very powerful. They started their career with low-cost thriller movies and gradually gained a foothold in Hollywood. They have rich experience in how to distribute such works. In the past, the development of the Saw series was also one of the facades of Lionsgate. If it were not for Lemon's influence, James Wan would be the screenwriter and producer of the second and third parts of Saw at Lionsgate, and invited a new director to direct. After the good response, James Wan planned to shoot a new film project, and Lionsgate continued to develop the sequel. Later, a total of 8 films were made, and they stopped only when the audience felt sick when they heard the word Saw. You can see how awesome Lionsgate is. Their marketing strategies are also aimed at a specific audience, that is, people who can accept horror, violence, and blood in their movie tastes. Advertising is basically carried out around low and middle class communities. Around these communities, including nearby video rental points, bus stops, and outdoor billboards, you can see huge posters of this film. Of course, the trailer. Gyro also edited 2 stickers for some local TV stations. As for those very popular TV shows, variety shows, and subway stations, train stations, downtown and other busy areas with dense traffic, no resources were invested. First, it is too expensive and the funds are limited. Second, the cost effectiveness is not high. Even if it is invested, the market conversion rate is very low. This is the experience summarized by Lionsgate. After all, the life cycle of ordinary horror movies is generally short. It is normal for mainstream commercial blockbusters to be released for 1 or 2 months, while the average release period of cult films is only 4 weeks, less than a month. It is not difficult to draw a conclusion that horror movies attach great importance to the market performance in the early stage. If they cannot make more box office at the beginning, they will basically be cold. It is also impossible to achieve a long-term release mode that focuses on word of mouth. Of course, Lionsgate did this. In the hotel, Lemon received a call from Joseph. I just got the news from Lionsgate. They are optimistic about the market prospects of Hellboy. They decided to release it on a large scale and strived to screen it in about 1,700 theaters. Not bad. Lemon smiled. Looking at the number of 1,700, at first glance, it doesn't sound like a lot. After all, Spider-Man 2 has more than 3,700 theaters. Compared with them, Hellboy doesn't even account for half of them. But the market potential of film types and potential audiences is incomparable. For cult films, this scale of distribution is enough to show that Lionsgate still attaches great importance to it. After all, Lionsgate signed the distribution rights for this movie, and of course they want to get the most distribution revenue. If the box office is high, they will get a large share. And Lemon doesn't ask for this movie to be a huge hit. As long as it has a small box office success like before, he will be satisfied. If it doesn't happen to be a good time, Lemon can accept a small loss. With the potential of Gyro, there is still a long way to go before he can grow to maturity in the future. Moreover, even if he doesn't make movies, being an art director or producer is more than enough. It must be a good thing to support him. Chapter 373 Small Town. Subscription recommendation. The next day, the entire crew drove to the small town of Eterdeba, a suburb of Paris. This location is the place where the film has the most screen time. In the car, Ryan said to everyone, I have contacted the sheriff and the mayor of the town on the phone. They also welcome our crew to come here to shoot. In addition, the town has also booked a hotel, so there is no need to worry about accommodation. Well, very thoughtful. Lemon nodded and smiled at him. In recent years, Ryan has been filming with the crew and has become more and more familiar with the work of production. Afterwards, everyone drove to the hotel to stay, put their luggage, and after a short rest, they went their separate ways. Thomas, Evan Braddon and other leaders, with the photography team and the set team, began to arrange the shooting location. Ryan was responsible for contacting the crew for meals, recruiting extras from the town, and so on. Everyone was very motivated, and Lemon had nothing to say about the filming staff under his command. In addition to the basic salary, that is far above the average level in the industry, if the box office is good after the movie is released, he is also willing to take out some of the profits as bonuses, and give them to all employees and the crew as dividends. The bigger the box office, the richer the bonus red envelope. Judge others by yourself. The most practical and effective way to maintain the centripetal force of the crew is to ensure the interests of everyone. After properly allocating personal affairs, Lemon went to visit the mayor of the town with Jim Carrey, Jane Reno, and Hilary Swank. For the crews who came here to shoot, it is always right to build a good relationship with the government. The town is not a very popular location for filming, and it is rare to meet a crew in a year. Not to mention that an internationally famous director like Lemon led the crew here, which is undoubtedly a good thing for the future development of the town. Therefore, the mayor of the town met Lemon and his party with a warm attitude. The mayor's name is precarious. He is about 50 years old, chubby, with a bulging belly, not very tall, and has a pair of small eyes. He looks very kind and likable. He warmly shook Jane Reno's hand, looked at him with his small eyes and said, "Oh, are you also here to film? That's great, that's great." The more famous the crew is, the more he likes it. "Mr. Mayor, you are too polite. Let me introduce you." Jane Reno took the initiative to act as a middleman. "This is the director of the crew, Mr. Lemon. This is a leading actor, Mr. Jim Carrey, from Hollywood. This is Miss Hilary Swank, the leading actress in the play." Several of Lemon's films have been popular in France, and Mayor Pre's attitude towards him is even more enthusiastic. He held his hand and said, "Hello, hello, welcome to the town of Aptuba." After exchanging greetings, precarious personally led the four people to various places in the town and introduced the scenery. In the evening, this guy proposed to treat the entire crew to a meal, saying that this was to express the town's attitude and that if anything happened during the filming, they could come to him. The town's economic level is not high, and the people who scouted the location at the time also saw this point, which was very consistent with the scene setting in the movie, so they finally chose this place. It is precisely because of this that the town's leadership team still hopes to create a way to make money for the town. If they can really make a name for themselves with the movie and attract more crews to come here to shoot, then their efforts and enthusiastic gestures of support will not be in vain. A banquet, eaten until very late. It was not until Mayor Pre could no longer hold on and fell asleep on the table with drunken eyes that he announced the end. Lemon was almost overwhelmed. He breathed a sigh of relief and said, "Finally got them drunk. These people are too hardworking." Ryan next to him stood up and said, "Call their people." Lemon cleaned up the table and asked Jim Carrey and Jane Reno, "How are you?" Jim Carrey smiled and said, "Nothing. I didn't drink a few glasses." "They are targeting you." Jane Reno was miserable. He was drunk a little too much. His face was red. This guy has a square personality and is taciturn. He is also a famous actor in France. Of course, the people in the town did not let him go. In addition, he is honest and accepts all offers. He drinks silently, but he is a fierce competition of drinking. Thomas on the side also said they still want to do something. The economic environment is not good. How can life be easy if they rely on government subsidies? Lemon glanced at the mayor who was still sleeping. "I just took a walk with him. There is no economic source in the town. There are not many factories. The employment pressure is high. All the young people have run away. Isn't this normal?" Ryan muttered. "France's economy has been in negative growth in recent years. The government has to bear high welfare expenditures. It's good to be able to maintain a decent life. The film industry is still quite prosperous. The total box office has been increasing, and the market is getting bigger and bigger." Lemon was not surprised when he heard it. "I don't know how many demonstrations will break out in the future because of the government's reduction of welfare. There is a determination to get rid of the burden, but what can I do? Besides, He is a filmmaker, and the film market doesn't jump. Moreover, as Ryan said, the pace of the rise of French films is very fast. In the past few years, Hollywood blockbusters have always been praised, and the money has been earned by outsiders, but now, local film companies such as Europa and Pathé have a significantly increasing market share. Last year, 5 of the top 10 movies in the annual box office list were from France, with Bad Guys being the champion. This year is even worse, as French movies have held the summer market for the first time. In fact, this is also due to the failure of blockbusters such as Van Helsing and Troy. This has led to very good results for films such as The District, produced by Europa Films, and The Chorus, released by EMI. Especially The District, which was written by Luc Besson, and was a localized improvement of Hollywood commercial movies. The plot is very entertaining, and has no depth. It highlights a rhythm of excitement, violence, and adrenaline rush. It can be said that it has learned the essence of Hollywood popcorn movies, and the audience is also happy to watch it. In the past, boring love literary and artistic movies often dominated the mainstream. Although this type of movie is still the most popular now, we can see that the market is changing, and more filmmakers want to make money. After all, they have been making money by making movies, while I have been losing money by making movies. It is definitely a lie to say that I can't get any thinking from it. Moreover, if the literary and artistic genres are really well made, they are not unsellable. Audiences also like films like The Chorus. Therefore, judging from the current development situation, French films still have room for improvement. As he was talking, the drivers that Ryan had called to notify had arrived. They helped carry several government officials in the town into the car, and then they left together. Chapter 374, Filming, Subscription Recommendation. The first scene was the most important for running in. After all, the crew had just settled down, and needed some time to get into the groove. So, Lemon chose the main character's solo scene. Well, he wanted to see if Jim Carrey had fully understood the role. The actors began to put on makeup and style their looks. Each group of people was preparing at their respective positions, while Lemon sat behind the director's monitor to coordinate the subsequent filming. Camera number 1 is in place. Thomas ran over and gestured. Yes. Lemon looked at him and said, has the track for camera number 2 been laid? The camera will need to move forward and follow it later. Ready. As each task was implemented, the stage manager stood in front of the main camera with a clapperboard and tapped it lightly. The Daydreamer. Scene 21. Scene 1. Shot 1. Action. On the street. Jim Carrey was wearing an old grey suit and carrying a somewhat damaged briefcase. He was jogging along the road. He held his head high, his hair was messy, and he looked nervous because he was about to be late. As a deputy general manager in charge of negatives in a magazine, he was not proud because there were only 2 people in the negatives department. Being late would not only get him scolded, but also his salary would be deducted. His name was Walter Mitty, 40 years old, single. He was a very ordinary person who had lived a mediocre life in the first half of his life. Cut. The shooting was very fast throughout the morning because the scenes were simple and Jim Carrey was in good condition, so he basically got it right in one take. After shooting 3 scenes, something went wrong, and it was the heroine Hilary Swank. Lemon stood up from behind the monitor and sighed, make your eyes more lively. I want the kind of subtle funny shots. The more serious, the funnier. Hilary Swank kept apologizing. This was the 3rd time she made a mistake. Lemon scratched his forehead with a headache. You have never acted in a comedy? Hilary shook her head. I have never tried this before. Well, she has acted in many serious dramas, so it is normal that she can't act funny. Before the filming started, Lemon was worried that Jim Carrey couldn't handle the funny and serious aspects, and couldn't switch between them. Who would have thought that Jim Carrey was the most stable one, and light comedy was not a big challenge for him. After all, the performances in The Truman Show and Eternal Love were even higher. Lemon pulled Hilary Swank aside and said, the role you play is a very ordinary magazine editor, but because Walter Mitty has a crush on you, you have to have that feeling when you act opposite him, understand? It's not that you have feelings, you just act normally, and Jim Carrey's part is all there. In this scene, you order the new issue of the magazine to choose a good photo as the cover. Just a routine. So, you smile politely first. Hilary Swank raised the corners of her mouth, revealing a row of teeth. Lemon smiled bitterly and said, "Your smile is too sweet. You don't have to be so nice to him. You don't like him." A smile without any meaning, just like the standard smile of a waiter. Hilary Swank finally understood. Her eyes were dull, but she smiled. No warmth. Yes, that's it. A very formal and polite smile. A smile with encouragement after you, as a boss, tell your subordinates to do something. Keep it this way. After the reset, the scene went smoothly. Looking closely, Hilary has a good acting foundation as an actor, but the role is too monotonous and the acting range is narrow. For example, The Daydreamer is a very light comedy, and she can't handle it. It's a typical one-sidedness. It's like Jim Carrey is used to acting in comedies, and it's easy for the audience to be distracted when he suddenly plays a serious drama. However, actors always need to grow. The biggest taboo is to remain unchanged. After filming the first encounter between the two characters, which was also a scene that explained the relationship between the characters, the crew immediately set off to the town's passenger bus station to continue filming the protagonist's return home from get off work. This was a group scene. In addition to Jim Carrey, there were a bunch of passers-by and extras. The extras were found directly in the local area. This scene itself was not important, and the extras did not need to do anything. They just followed the protagonist waiting for the bus and chatted. This scene was divided into two stages, first a long shot, and then a close shot. Half an hour later, the crew was ready. The script supervisor hit the board. Action. The camera seemed to be pulled up and spread, directly a large panoramic view, covering all the scenes of waiting for the bus at the station, giving people a sense of reality and the breath of life to the greatest extent. Then it pushed in, sweeping across the group of actors, and the voices of the extras were also recorded. "Come to my house for a drink. Do you want to go? I have something to do tomorrow." The extras chatted casually in groups of 3 or 2, and they all knew each other. On the contrary, Walter Mitty stood there stupidly, and he couldn't talk to him, even if he wanted to. The car hadn't come yet, so he sat on the steps casually. He looked left and right, with a smile on his face. Suddenly, his eyes lit up. In the distance, his goddess Cheryl was walking towards him. He wanted to strike up a conversation with her, but he didn't know what reason to strike up a conversation with her. He was stunned and watched her walk away. He was a little annoyed, looking at the goddess back, hoping that there would be a chance for him to go up and help her. To be a hero saving a beauty or something. It seemed like a dream come true. A residential building in front of him suddenly exploded. He immediately ran over, stepped on the guardrail, and flew in. This was where the goddess Cheryl lived, and he knew clearly that she lived on the 6th floor. Finally, in Cheryl's admiring eyes, he saved a puppy, which was Cheryl's dog. Walter Mitty said coolly, "It's just a piece of cake, no need to thank me." The goddess smiled brightly. Well, the fact is that Walter Mitty could only watch Cheryl's figure disappear stupidly. Here, we have to mention that the protagonist has a quirk, that is, he loves fantasy, which is commonly known as sexual fantasy. The biggest surprise of the film is that the picture always loves to shuttle between reality and daydreams. Whenever Walter is powerless about something, or he has an idea about someone, he will fantasize about solving everything perfectly. Fantasy shots naturally cannot be shot in real life, so Lemon found a special effects studio to specialize in these very exaggerated scenes. In addition to his rich body language, Jim Carrey's most powerful facial expressions and muscle control are also unique. In other words, among so many comedians, he has walked out of a very unique path. This is also the reason why Lemon chose him when he met him. For people who love fantasy, the effect brought by the subtle control of facial expressions is simply surprising, showing the dream moments of frustrated people to the fullest, which is very funny. Click, pass. Lemon nodded. As far as comedy performances are concerned, Jim Carrey is impeccable. It is quite lifelike, and it drives the expressions of the surrounding group actors to be rich. Chapter 375, Jim Carrey's Confusion. Please subscribe and recommend. The first day of work went smoothly. All the scenes were finished, and the progress was even accelerated. At 7 o'clock in the evening, it was dark. After shooting another shot, Lyman announced that it was time to go off work. Thomas and his men packed up the equipment and props and stuffed them into the car. Ryan sealed the film materials. After a tiring day, everyone was a little tired. Director Lyman. After returning to the hotel, they dispersed in twas and threes, but Jim Carrey called him. His brows were furrowed, and it was obvious that he had something to do. "Well, are you free tonight?" "I don't have anything to do." Lyman smiled. "Let's chat together." This was exactly what Carrey wanted. So the two returned to Lyman's room and found a chair to sit on. Lyman handed him a cigarette, and they each took a few puffs. Lyman said, "We've been shooting for a day today, and you have a good grasp of the emotions in your performance. Keep up the good work." "Well," Jim Carrey rubbed his hands, "I have some questions I want to ask you." "Talk about the play?" Lyman guessed. "No, this role is not difficult, it's other aspects." "What?" Lyman asked with interest. "Broaden my acting range, transform myself. I don't want people to think that I can only act in comedies." Speaking of this, Jim Carrey was silent for a while. "You should know my story. I tried many times, but it still didn't work. I've been going around in circles for so many years, and it seems that I'm always standing still. It's like a cage that traps me." "Then why do you think you can't transform yourself?" "The role is not right. The audience's impression of me has been fixed, and they can't accept me acting in non-comedy works. So, I need to break through myself more. You know all this, why can't you do it?" "It's too difficult." Jim Carrey frowned. "I thought that if I acted in more profound works and stopped laughing, I would be able to transform myself. But it seems to be useless. Neither the judges nor the audience accept it." "Oscar," Lyman teased. "Winning the Oscar proves that I'm more than just funny," Jim Carrey said, as if it was a matter of course. "Many actors think this way. Leo wants people to think that he does not rely on his looks to make a living, and he is also struggling to win the favor of the Oscars. Why do you think an award can change the audience's inherent impression?" Lyman was puzzled. "Isn't it right? The little golden man is an affirmation of performance and represents authority. It is determined by people. But it is the most correct. Getting it at least proves an actor's performance level. In theory, it is correct, but acting is a very complicated thing. It is not something that can be recognized by any award, and you don't need it that much. Of course, this is my personal understanding, and we can communicate." Lyman organized his words and continued, "Do you think that for a movie, box office success is more important, or the reputation of the judges is more important?" "Box office." "Then do you want to get more recognition from the audience or the judges?" "The audience." "That's it. I understand your desire to transform. It's nothing more than acting in the same type of movies all the time, making you tired and exhausted, and wanting to break through, right?" "Yes, I have been acting in comedy for more than 20 years, and I have always made people laugh, but this is actually a very boring thing. I never laugh when I watch my own movies, and now I feel inexplicably disgusted. There is no progress at all." He rubbed his head, holding a cigarette, his mind blurred. "In the past, I went on TV shows to make money, acted ugly, alternative, and exaggerated, and practiced to make people laugh. But I have been on this road for too long, and I have always been regarded as a clown. You know, clowns, the kind that make people want to laugh when they see them. I don't want to be laughed at all the time. When I walk on the street, people always praise you. You are so funny, you are so funny. It's like a nightmare. You can't laugh, but you have to laugh all the time." Lyman listened very seriously. He could even imagine Jim Carrey practicing his smile in front of the mirror day after day. The days of constantly creating joy and laughing for the sake of laughing must be pitiful. Actors never play themselves, so there is such a thing as acting. It is through certain techniques and injecting certain emotions to achieve the desired effect. To make others laugh, you must first abandon your own emotions and be happy, even if you are unhappy. When he is not performing, he is himself. As soon as he starts to perform, he pretends to be happy to make people laugh. This is a very fake emotion, and it also makes people numb. He clearly knows that this is life, it is fake, and it is performed, but he can't change it. It is a very tangled self mentality. There is always a deviation between the actor's perception of the role and the audience. They also always like to label the actors, but in reality, who cares about the appearance of the actors themselves? The audience only hopes that the actors can show the side they need on the screen and in their lives. Jim Carrey tried to change, which was a resistance to this kind of trouble. Unfortunately, he failed, and later, he was deeply tortured by depression. The mental and emotional repression, coupled with the troubles and depression in life, make comedians the hardest hit by depression. Chaplin, Rowan Atkinson, and Robin Williams have all suffered from this kind of trouble. Comedians need to be delicate and emotional. If the mental tolerance is a little weak, then the possibility of causing psychological obstacles is too great. In other words, Jim Carrey's comedic talent is enough to allow him to travel the sky, but he can't find a way to return to himself. He fell into a maze, thinking that winning an Oscar would end it all and give him a new life, but in the end, he fell deeper and deeper and couldn't extricate himself. In the final analysis, this guy lacks a way to release his emotions and pressure. Your basic understanding is wrong. Lemon listened for a long time and suddenly interrupted. What's wrong? Jim Carrey has not reached that step in the future. At this moment, he simply feels that he needs to expand his acting range and can't always play the same type of movies. Alas, God gave me a meal, but I'm not happy to eat it. What is acting? Acting is about your understanding of the role. Did you see Hilary Swank's performance today? Not quite there, but improving quickly. She has won an Oscar for Best Actress, but so what? If she can't grasp the comedic effect of the role, she can't act well. A person's life experience must first reach a certain level before they can act well. Otherwise, you don't even understand what the role is. How can you act it out? Then how should I transform? Simple, take more roles, try different roles, and even travel more to see the world. Don't be obsessed with an Oscar. It doesn't mean anything. You've made it this far. What are you afraid of? End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.